welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. And we're also joined today by a very, very special returning guest. Ariel Powers-Schaub is a horror critic and film analyst and the author of Millennial Nasties, analyzing a decade of brutal horror film violence. Welcome back to the show, Ariel. Hello.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
You're
It's very,
most
very glad you can
welcome.
be here.
Very glad to have you here. How exciting. And yeah, in terms of returning guest, you were on the show before. We had an interview of you discussing the release of your book, Millennial Nasties. And now we
Yes.
got you on for a full episode where we are discussing a Millennial Nasty as well. And surprising, a film we haven't covered before.
Yeah, it's taken us a while to get to Mick, but here we are. We're on
Lucky
him
for
this
me.
week.
Yeah.
Saved Mick just for you. Yeah,
Thanks.
Ariel. Extra special. Exactly. So obviously last time we spoke, it was I think it was the eve of your book being released. And
hmm
since then we've had a couple of months of it since it's been out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost, well, like 6 weeks, I guess.
6
It
weeks.
feels longer than that.
How
Mm.
time flies.
Yeah.
How has everybody reacted to the book? Has everyone been enjoying it? I've got a copy and I've read it, so I really enjoyed it too. Definitely pick it up if you're a fan of this era of horror. But yeah, how's it been?
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. It's been really good. People have been very kind and um most people have said like I gave them something new to think about or a new appreciation for those movies. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. This decade in the 2000s doesn't get as much love as it should, although I think it's starting to. And so if people can think about a film in a different way or gain a new appreciation for it, that's what I had hoped for. And so to hear people say that has just been mind-blowing.
I guess it's also been a good opportunity for people to. It definitely added films to my watch list, even though I've seen most of them, I know, but still films that maybe like, oh, I haven't seen that before, or maybe I've not seen that in a long time. It kind of reminded
hmm
me that I need to go and check them out. So yeah, it's uh, it's good. And there is a chapter on Wolf Creek as well.
Yes, Wolf Creek is in there in the Vacations Gone Wrong section of the book.
Vacation's
I
gone
feel
wrong.
like the 2000s are prime time for the vacations gone wrong
That's
era,
exactly
weren't
right.
they?
Yes, there were many, and I covered a few, but there are many more. Yeah,
Vacations. I mean, vacation's gone wrong is like, I don't know, maybe leaving your passport somewhere.
Those Griswolds, they made a whole series of it. Their
that's
vacations
true.
going wrong,
That's true.
but
This
in a
is
very
like
different way once the millennium hit.
this is vacation's gone very wrong. You know, what just
Right.
a series of things going wrong. Car problems. Oh, that's always horrible when that happens. Oh, a
hmm
The
lovely
the
man come to
exchange
save
rate's
us.
not what I thought it was going to be. Not going to get as much from it at all. But no, in millennial nasties, quite often you'll meet a really horrible bloke. You'll touch the plants at the temple that you're not meant to touch. Don't be doing
That's
that.
classic.
Yeah.
Can't be
Classic.
doing that.
Yeah. Don't touch the plants. Oh, too
God damn
late.
it.
Who among us hasn't touched the plants at the temple, though? It's a rite
Yeah,
of passage.
exactly.
They're just crying out to be touched. Come on, for God's sake. Yeah, so this is a vacation gone very wrong. And an
Yes.
iconic horrible bloke as well. And I guess the reason he's iconic is because he seems so chipper and lovely. He seems pretty chipper throughout the whole film, to be fair. He's obviously not lovely throughout the whole film, but he still seems pretty chipper. He's got quite a positive attitude, even when he's nursing a bullet wound to the neck.
Oh, he's a very special man. He has the ability to get better from that. Little lie down, and he pops
A
back
little
to
lie
it.
down, a lovely little cravat that he makes for himself. He
Yeah.
turns it into a fashion choice, this guy.
But I've heard the horrible man, Mick himself, he's on the way back, isn't he? Is this a little bit of news? They are exploring a new one in the series.
Wolf Creek
Really?
Legacy,
Yeah,
yeah.
Wolf Creek Legacy.
We
Is
I
John
discussed
Jarratt
this.
didn't
returning
know.
as Mick?
Hmm. We discussed this a few weeks ago. I think we mentioned it on the
Okay.
news. And obviously, I guess this is a weird one for us as Americans and British people, is that Jeff
hmm
Jarrett's like, sorry, not Jeff Jarrett, that's a
Jeff Jarratt,
wrestler.
he's a wrestler.
He's
Yeah.
a
John Jarrett.
wrestler.
He's a
Yeah.
wrestler. It's not Jeff Jarrett with his guitar. John Jarratt is like a sort of light entertainment figure in Australia, isn't he? So like him being cast in this film was really strange, really like off the beaten track, I guess.
Mm.
It's in a fairly recent Christmas movie when I was looking at his work as well.
Well, like as Mick or
No, not as Mick. He's in. Let me make sure I've got this up for you. So he's most known for Wolf Creek, obviously. That's a large one, in Wolf Creek too. But
was
if
he
I
like
look
a
at his,
quiz show host initially or something like that? Is that right? I should have researched this before I actually just brought it up, but I feel like he was a quiz show host. I got American television. He just looks like such a lovely man. Can't
he's
imagine
in
for a
Django
second.
Unchained. You
That's
can
right.
enjoy him
Yes.
in 2021's Christmas Down Under.
Christmas
Okay.
Down Under. Okay.
Yeah,
Is it the kind of thing you never look at him the same now after seeing him in this? Oh, he was a presenter on the lifestyle show Better Homes and Gardens,
there you go.
and then he had a lot.
That's wild.
That is wild, yeah. Um, and then he had sort of like minor roles in various things like Inspector Morse, Blue Murder, Blue Healer. So I guess like all of these kind of like crime shows. It seems like, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty nuts that he started off like that, and now he's an iconic Australian scary man.
Hmm.
Oh dear. What is your relationship with this franchise, Ariel? I know we mentioned before you haven't seen the TV show yet.
Right. I want to watch the TV show. I don't know. I guess I haven't looked in a while. I think it was on Shutter for a while, but now I don't know where to find it, so I need to look around. Um, I've seen the second movie a couple of times. I do like it, but I much prefer the first one, and so I've watched Wolf Creek a lot. And
Hmm.
I only really learned about it in the last like 4 or 5 years or something. When I started like seeking out horror recommendations that I hadn't heard of before. And so I think I checked it out from the library one day and was just
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah, I my local library has a lot of movies. And so I was like, oh, I'll give this a try. And I didn't really know going in what kind of movie it was going to be, so that was quite a ride.
I expect so. If I don't remember the second one very well. If I remember, it's just kind of more of the same, isn't it? It's just like
I
a
think
different,
so.
yeah, a
I think
different
so.
trio maybe.
There's more comedy, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a little bit bigger. Like I feel like it's there's more scenes of the characters kind of out and sprawling and like I think one guy like gets away to a house at one point. And
Oh
I
wow.
just
Okay.
remember being like, I want the stripped down horrible horror of the first
Yeah.
one.
As far as I'm aware of the TV show, I think it focuses on a survivor of one of his, let's
Mm.
call it an escapade. And I think she goes back to like try and find him to get revenge. It's not
Oh,
like,
like a classic revenge thriller,
yeah,
because it does give you there's kind of vibes in this that could lead to like a I spit on your grave scenario, right?
Hmm.
In this film, it doesn't go that direction ultimately, but you can see where the some of the unpleasantness could lead to that kind of film in a different world.
mm,
Absolutely.
yeah, deeply unpleasant. I guess what this film kind of lacks as well is kind of like a main character or a final girl. It's almost like the
Hmm.
person you think is the main character ends up just not being the main character. I don't know about you guys, but I totally forgot about what's his name, Ben Mitchell.
Ben,
Yeah,
your actual name.
I literally completely forgot about him. For some reason, I just assumed at one point you see a body, like, and I thought maybe that's him. And
No,
then when it turned out he was alive, I was like, oh, what?
he's been Jesused off for a bed for a good half an hour just on a cross
Yeah,
away
Hmm.
elsewhere for him to wake up when a lot of the plot has concluded.
yeah, pretty brutal. Um, okay, so before we jump into Wolf Creek, let's talk a tiny bit of horror news. Got a couple of little bits to talk about. I guess you know what? Let's mention Wolf Creek Legacy as we're discussing it now. We may have mentioned it in a previous episode, but you know it's relevant now. So he is returning. John Jarratt, we're going to say Jeff Jarrett again. Don't do it. Is returning in Wolf Creek Legacy. This time around, it's a family of American tourists who wander innocently into Taylor's hunting grounds. Oh, then there's some other sentences that seem like a bit spoilerish, but still. But these two wily, resourceful Zoomers prove harder for the aging predators to consume. Forgive me, Zoomers. generation of people is
Gen
that?
Z.
Gen Z, so younger than
Yes.
us.
Yeah,
Yes.
only slightly. You understand? They're
Yes.
probably
We're very young on
yeah,
We're
this
very, yeah,
podcast.
of course.
yeah.
Of course.
They're probably in their early 20s versus our late 20s, I'd
Yes.
imagine.
I
That
see.
is
I see. That
what
makes
where we
sense.
all are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wily. Two wily, resourceful Zoomers taking on old Mick.
I don't know. That
No?
okay,
I
I'm
don't know
gonna
either.
watch it.
Yeah.
But it's not that they are Gen Z that's the problem. It's like the focus on them being Gen Z.
Hmm.
Like are they going to be like hitting their watermelon vapes while they fight him? Like why do we care that they're Gen Z?
Yeah. You could naturally
Powering
just
up
be
with
you're a younger person, so that's you use your physicality to it.
Right.
Not that Gen Z is like you've got the X gene, you've got a mutant
Right.
power now. Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with it, but I think
Yeah.
much like Sex and the City and New York is another character, the central deserts in Australia are a fundamental part of what makes Wolf Creek so scary. Like, I think
Absolutely.
wherever you absorb, like with a lot of Australian media, you assume, and especially if you haven't been there or traveled there or whatever, you mostly primarily see things represented in the cities, which are primarily around the country's coast. The center of Australia still to this day is very difficult for anyone to live in. There are vast, vast areas of land, like the stat it gives us at the beginning of the film. The bush is really, really dense, really, really an incredibly hostile environment, very difficult for people to live in, even in the modern era. Um, I think that is a fantastic way to lean into the horror where, yes, you've got a terrible man who you want to escape from, but to a degree, he's able to be undetected, and escape is so difficult because Australia's real big. It's massive.
Yeah.
And if you're lost, there is just nothing for miles and miles and miles.
I like here how John Jarratt describes Mick Taylor. He never runs, he never yells, he never dies. Which I think, which is probably
Wow.
true, isn't it? He is
If you
just
could
like,
avoid doing those three things your entire life, you've had a good one.
yeah, he just drives really fast or like shoots you from afar. Yeah, that's pretty scary. Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it as well, and it has made me kind of want to watch the TV show if we do get a little bit of Mick origin. I don't want too much in terms of Mick origin. A little bit maybe. Don't want to see him when he was a wee boy. Don't want to
Well,
see him.
Yeah.
maybe Nicholas, like just when he's a
Nicholas,
little wee lad.
Nicholas. Yeah, he'll be a little wee lad, but he'll be wearing the same hat, and he'll have a little bit. He'll have the same facial hair. Yeah. I just
Maybe
want to
him as a
know.
hunter though, like showing his time. He talks about his hunting experience. You'll notice when he mentions that he talks about
Mhm.
hunting
Hmm.
boars and kangaroos. Doesn't mention emus. Australia famously, one of the wars in their history that they've lost was against emus.
I
Australian
wouldn't I
military
wouldn't fight
lost
an
that war
emu.
against the
Is
emus.
is
Very
this
difficult.
is this legit, or are you
Yeah,
being?
Yes, this is
look up
true.
the Australian emu war.
Excuse me.
It's very fascinating.
Wait a minute. Why are we doing a podcast about horror films? Why aren't we doing a podcast about the Australian Emu War? Why aren't we on episode 360 of the Australian Emu War?
The Australian Emu War is an incredibly fascinating part of history, something that I do not have the background to cover here. I will recommend a podcast that you can enjoy if you look up one of my most favorite podcasts called Do Go On. It's Australian comedians. I saw them last couple of weeks.
Did you really? I love
Yes.
Do Go On. I adore Do
Oh
Go
yeah.
On.
I'm going to clip this sound and send it to them.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah,
I
their
love them
Emu War
and their
episode is
spin-off
incredible.
shows.
Yeah, I
So
was watching an episode, a live recording of Who Knew It with Matt Stewart last night.
I'm so jealous. Oh, right, because they're on tour
Yeah, it was their
right
last night
now.
yesterday.
Oh, that's so cool.
Amazing. So
I'm so jealous.
where was that, Andy?
I was in Edinburgh watching Matt Stewart with some guests. I think it'll probably be on the Who Knew It feed in the next
Oh,
few weeks, I
amazing.
guess. It was very funny. I would recommend it to anybody. But do go on as well. Fascinating. It's where I know a lot of my history from, including the Great Emu War, which Australia lost.
I'm assuming so it's a nuisance wildlife management military operation. We're not talking like the emus weren't lined up running
But
at
like,
the
genuinely, there are bits when they're using like military equipment to try and shoot emus, and They just cannot get them. Emus are
How,
too clever. They got them in a
how have I
classic
missed?
pincer maneuver.
I feel like I've missed a huge cultural moment. I mean,
Get on that
obviously,
episode of Do Go On, Ben. We'll
yeah,
discuss it.
Yes.
please. It lasted for 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. This emu war. Anyway, sorry if I've just ruined the episode by everyone listening to this episode is now going to stop and just go and listen
Pause,
to.
go and listen to that, and then come back and say thank you. I've just found a new podcast I like as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, other bits of news. What have we got? You're gonna love this, Andy. This is especially for you. There's one of those films coming out. Terrible sentence, sorry. Popeye the Slayer Man. We're getting another character in public domain, and they've gone, you know what? This character's in public domain is obviously going to be a slasher. On the following on from Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse and all of those wonderful, wonderful films that are definitely not awful. We've now got Popeye the Slayer Man. I don't know if you heard about this. Did you see the trailer, Andy?
I haven't. I wasn't aware there was a trailer of Popeye the Slayer Man. Is he still a
Uh,
sailor, but happens
he's still a
to slay
Slayer.
people?
He's a Slayer. He looks like he's got massive forearms as well.
Yeah, you'll need them.
But why's everyone got to be murderous? I'm definitely checked out. I'm exhausted by this stuff
Oh,
now.
you see, you could have done Popeye the Slayer Man and made him a vampire slayer.
Yeah,
They could have done literally anything else.
literally
Like
Imagine
any
that.
other idea.
Those vampires are there. They're running amok. Oh, what's that boat coming in on the horizon through the mist?
Dude.
And they say, oh, we've got him. They've got him on the ropes and they're about to bite him. And then he reaches across, gets his lovely spinach, thumps them all. What a time.
I just feel like horror filmmakers need to just stop already. I've had enough already.
I defend their right to do
I know
these
that's
things,
why I
but I
said
want them,
that's why I said you. This is
but I
for
want
you,
them to do
Andy.
it. I want them to do it with a bit more imagination. Like
No,
get
there is
Christopher
none.
Robin bitten by thing and he turns into a Winnie the Pooh werebear. That'd be
That
brilliant.
would be
Oh,
good.
bear.
Ariel, have
Very
you
good.
seen any of these films? Have you seen any of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
I think there's maybe the Pinocchio one, which is coming soon as well. The
And
problem is,
the Steamboat
Screenboat
Willie
Willie.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't see that one. I saw there was another Steamboat Willie one, which was just him as a like a slasher.
Or the
But
mouse trap or something like that.
yeah, that's right, the Mousetrap.
Mickey's mouse trap.
Yeah, it's annoying. Well, I don't know. I got to stop watching them. Then that's the thing. I keep watching them, actively disliking them, and then the next one comes out, and I'm just there with my mouth open, ready
Rent
to
it in Ultra
consume
HD.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Rent that in 4K. It's an extra couple of quid. What have I done?
Popeye the Slayer Man. This is coming out next year. I think there's a teaser trailer that's out now. A group of friends sneak into an abandoned spinach canning factory. Oh my God. To film a documentary on the legend of the sailor man who is said to haunt the factory. What's he?
Is it found footage? Because if it's found footage, I am in.
Okay.
Found
Maybe it's
footage.
got found footage
Slayer Man.
elements. If it's like them filming a documentary, then maybe it's got found
I
footage.
could get on board. I can get on board.
Why would a
Yeah.
sailor? I mean, I suppose the spinach factory could be on the coast.
Yeah.
What would the soil be
guess.
like for
What are you doing
growing
living in a
spinach and
spinach
likewise
factory?
vegetables?
Is there going to be
I-
a
No
what
idea.
was his girlfriend's name?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
I don't know.
You've come
I don't
into a
know why that was
podcast with
funny.
two emu and
Wait.
Popeye experts here.
It was Shelley Duvall, wasn't it, in the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's a true connection to actual horror royalty.
That was nearby where it was filmed earlier this year. It's in Malta where they filmed it.
You were there
Yeah.
filming Popeye the Slayer Man.
Oh, film Popeye the Slayer Man, right?
You were there. Why didn't you send me any photos saying I'm here at the scene of
Oh, I only drove past
Popeye?
it on the way to diving.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
I didn't like hang around the thing and
Yeah.
see Wimpy and trying to cadge burgers off me
Can you
with the
do
promise of repayment.
Can you do a good Popeye laugh, Andy?
I mean, my confidence in doing so has dropped dramatically through the floor the moment you said so on a recorded media. I'll think about it. I'll
like-
try and prepare.
No.
There you go. That's good. That's good enough. No, relax.
Something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
5 out of 10. Okay.
Sure.
Sure.
I'd go higher than that, Ben. I'd go a solid 7.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah. I think it's again Popeye by his nature, a heroic man.
Yeah, this is what I'm having a problem with, right? Is that all of these characters coming into public domain, you know, by their very nature, they've not got a bad bone in their body, and immediately
Yeah.
turning them into just a mindless slasher who doesn't say a word is not sitting well with me. You
I'll be
know,
in public domain. Make a brilliant action movie. Do something like The Raid, but with Popeye the Sailor Man.
yeah.
Like, you know,
Oh my God,
all like
exactly.
Bluto and his goons, and then he
Oh my
has his
God,
spinach.
yes.
And then as you know, as he says, keeping good behavior is your one lifesaver with Popeye the Sailor Man. So only a goodie would be
Mm,
allowed to survive.
yeah, come on, let's do that. Is it just
Yeah.
because these films are ever so quick and cheap to knock out the people who are doing this?
Well, and they must be making money, right?
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't keep doing it. So,
I would
Yeah.
wager hand over fist. I think sometimes it's like speed to market, isn't it? You're the first person to get one of these out, then
Yeah.
mhm.
you'll see. And we've got plenty more to come. The Pooniverse, Ben, continues.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to check out from just my involvement in reviewing horror movies just for a few years, Andy, just while all these films just get out of the way, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, someone will give it, someone will like, you know, really corner the market, the Venn diagram of things that you're disinterested in, Ben. They'll have AI write a
Oh God.
write a now royalty-free thing.
An AI royalty-free Popeye the Sailor Man horror movie. Everyone be queuing around the block for that. Okay.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Exactly. Okay, got a little bit more news, something far nicer. Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Frankenstein is wrapped, apparently, but we've also got the first image of it inside Frankenstein's lab. I think it's the character who, what's his name? Oscar Isaac plays. Well, he's Dr. Frankenstein, isn't he? I think so, yeah. Um, Jacob Elordi is playing Frankenstein's monster. That is the tall guy who was in that Saltburn film. Also, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, and Oscar Isaac. So obviously, great cast. Ralph Ineson. Andy, can you guess who he might be playing?
In Franken, is he going to be the monster's voice?
Gonna have to be a monster's voice, right? Yeah. Um,
Galactus and the monster's voice in the same
yeah.
like
How do you
era.
how do you feel about this adaptation, Ariel? Do you think it sounds
It
good?
sounds great. I mean, that cast is stacked. I trust Guillermo del Toro with anything, so yeah, I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. Apparently it's
They
been this
filmed near me
long
as
time.
well.
Sorry?
They filmed quite near where I live. One of my friends saw Mia Goth in a perfume shop, stocking
Really?
up
Oh
in
my
Edinburgh.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
And her
man. Literally.
husband, Shia LaBeouf, he was there talking to some locals out on the town.
Yeah, I forget she's married to Shia LaBeouf. Um, everywhere you go, Andy, something's happening lately. You're in this driving past where they filmed Popeye, near where they filmed Frankenstein.
Yeah. I think the algorithms are following me, Ben. Like, where can we set or film something? It's where this guy's going to be. Get
Apparently,
the word out.
it's been Del Toro's passion project since 2008. You can kind of already picture like what a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie would look like, and it looks great in my head. So I'm sure it'll be even
Hmm.
better.
Yeah, it should be brilliant. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Last piece of news, something we've mentioned on the show before, the documentary about George A. Romero's failed Resident Evil movie is coming out on January the 7th, 2025. I'm trying very hard to get the maker of the documentary, Brandon Salisbury, on the show to talk about it. Hopefully we can get something locked in for the next month, so before it's released we can talk about it. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be shown currently, whether it's just going to be available. I'm assuming it's just going to be available on streaming somewhere. But yeah, looking forward to this very much.
This one
So
needs to come on and talk to us, Ben, because if you were able to talk to him, you could help get that word out, and then people like you could find out more easily.
exactly,
Hmm.
there we
You're
go.
providing
It's
a
sold.
service. Come on,
Like yeah, I'm going to clip that bit and just send it to him and
send
say,
to him.
listen, we're doing a service here. Yeah, this should be fun. It's something it's a shame that we'll never get to see it, but still, I think there was like some people have adapted it into some comic books that I've seen before.
Okay,
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, fan of Resident Evil, Ariel, not just the movies or any movies or games or both or neither.
So I'm terrible at video games. So I've never played a Resident Evil game. I watched all the Mia Jovovich movies when they came out,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking they were entertaining enough, but I've never gone back to them. I don't have a much of a connection to Resident Evil.
Mm.
You
I
know my
feel
big takeaway
like,
from those movies, don't you, Ben?
go on, the director, Paul W.S. Anderson, loves
Loves
his
his
wife.
wife very much, right? Correct.
He loves his wife very much. He's like, get my wife in this film and she's going to be the main character. I'm pretty sure I heard that there was another adaptation. The thing is, Resident Evil is probably one of my favorite pieces of media, the games, and I feel like I'm incredibly lucky for there to always be an adaptation. We've had a TV show on Netflix. There was a movie, the Welcome to Raccoon City movie. There have been 7 movies. That's right, isn't it? Seven, six?
Oh my gosh.
7 movies. I'm incredibly lucky to receive all those things. However, it's still not enough. I'm still not happy. So I want I want this documentary. I want that film to become a reality, and I'd love something else, Andy. Or do you think I've had enough and I should just
No, you
forget it?
like live your life, Ben. Take as much as you want. Keep going. Stay
Yeah.
hungry.
Stay hungry indeed.
Got a
Okay.
final bit of news for you. Might be a little
Okay.
bit out of date now, but I was excited for it. It's news you've been clamoring for, Ben. Lena clamoring for. That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
Another orphan film greenlit. She's back.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful news.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's
How
back, the orphan. Will this time it be her actual first kill, not as in orphan first kill, where she definitely was already in prison for doing murders at the
yeah.
beginning? Will it be her trying to shag a different dad who find let's find out.
Leave the dads alone, for God's sake.
Yeah.
She
What
can't.
if
She
you
just
Can't.
can't do it. How
just get
old
her adopted into a family with a real ugly dad?
how old is she now though? No disrespect to her. I'm not trying to claim that she couldn't pass for a 12-year-old, but I'm just wondering.
She's a fully grown woman.
She's a
It's
Yes.
fully grown
pretty
woman, right?
hilarious, but I don't care. I'll watch it.
Put some pigtails in, whack a ribbon around your neck. People go, "Oh, hey, okay."
Excuse
Yeah.
me, are you 12 years old? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do when I want to get on the bus for cheap, Ben.
Did
Stick my hair
they?
in pigtails, put some ribbon around my neck, wander to the
Oh,
train station.
Jesus Christ!
One,
I mean,
please.
I would let you on any form of public transport for free if that's how you looked, Andy.
Make myself look like the orphan.
Did they do any sort of CGI in the last film to make her look younger, or did they just do the Hobbit trick where they had just a small person
John
playing?
Rhys Davis on his knees, much closer to the camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
but
don't know.
you're a fan, Ariel. You said you're a fan of these
Yes.
films.
Yes. Those movies are fun.
Yeah. When are we getting the third one? Next year, did you say, Andy?
So it's been greenlit. I don't think it's started filming yet, so you might be a couple of years out yet.
Orphan Free. Is this going to take place? I'm assuming. Did Orphan First Kill completely line up with the first movie, like almost seamlessly? It did, didn't it? Like,
To a degree, she was on the run, right? Like after she fell off the roof of that burning building. But it
yeah,
has
Mhm.
to be before the Orphan one because she definitely gets her head almost entirely kicked off. Unless she
yeah.
is resurrected with Megan technology.
No,
The
that's
Orphan
the
and Mithrigan
crossover.
together at last.
That's a big
Yeah, we
crossover.
need
Yeah.
that.
But at least she actually looks like a kid in the first one, though, right? I mean, she is a kid.
Oh, what if they
Right.
put Lena Clammer, famous burglar and dad shagger, put her brain into a Mithrigan? Blimmin' hell.
Famous dad
Now we're
shag.
in trouble.
Yeah. That's all I've got for news. Plenty to keep us going with that. Plenty to look
Yeah.
forward to. I guess what we should discuss now is what we've been watching. Has anybody seen anything in the last 7 days, or even um less recently than that, Ariel? Anything horror or horror adjacent that you'd like to recommend to us and our
Yes.
audience?
Last night I saw the TV Glow for the
Oh
first time. I don't
yes.
know if you guys have seen that.
Not yet.
Um, it's incredible. I really liked We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Mm.
I liked it a lot, and I think like TV Glow even more. Um, the performances are great. It looks great. It's super weird, like you would expect. Um, More horror adjacent, I would say, but definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I
I
thought
really do want to watch it. It is on my watch list. I've heard lots of people
Mhm.
put it in contendership for their film of the year. So I
Mhm.
absolutely need to watch it so I can make sure it's in the running for mine as we get towards the back end of the year as well.
yeah. Have you seen We're All Going to the World's Fair, Andy? Did you
I
say?
have seen We're All Going to the World's Fair. I think it was a Done Dead selection a couple of years ago, so I saw it around then.
Just reminded myself of what I said about I saw the TV. I really enjoyed the first half where it was kind of like dreamy suburban American teen drama, I guess.
Mhm.
Second half, I wasn't entirely as convinced by as the first half, but I still thought it was good, like visually, I guess. Um, but yeah, definitely worth checking out, 100%. And obviously, the filmmaker, Jane Schoenbrunn, is that her name?
I think
Schoenbrunn,
so.
Schoenbrunn.
Mhm.
Definitely one to watch as well, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Um, Andy, have you seen anything this week?
I have seen a couple. One thing which I have just started, which I need to rave about, I know I raved to you about it immediately, Ben,
Mm.
is that the TV series following on from Mark Duplass's Creep is
Mm.
now on Shudder. The first three episodes are live now. I've only seen the first one of the Creep tapes, but it is so good. Like the character work and the performances are completely off the chain. It is hilarious from the first episode that I've seen as well. Really, really big fan. We were waiting for Creep 3 for quite a long time. And sometimes when you wait a bit longer between drinks, maybe the taste's gone off you a little bit. That flavor's gone flat. But not on this occasion. It is still really, really solid, intensely, intensely creepy, but
Mm.
really, really funny on occasions as well. And it's so heavily driven by Mark Duplass's like performances on there. As well as is named in this first episode, Jeff Daniels. Very, very funny as well. Brilliant. Watch it immediately. It is worth the price of a Shudder subscription alone, I would say, if you don't already have one.
Absolutely.
Have you seen it
Hell
as well?
yes.
I've saw so I was at the Telluride Horror Show earlier this year and Patrick Bryce was there and they showed episode 1, 5, and 6. So
Oh,
I've seen
interesting.
episodes 1, 5, and 6.
So is
It's
it
so good,
more
isn't
of
it? It's a lot of fun.
a non-linear sort of thing then I guess? It's just like random occurrences
So the one I've
each.
seen is that it is shorts, and I think it's the premise of it is set up in the title, like the title crawl. It is just showing a cupboard opening and loads of VHS cassettes that are named
Ah,
with different things that have been recorded. And I think it alludes to that in the film. It's been a while since I've seen that as well. But yeah, the first episode certainly it's just about a short filmmaker called Mike who has been hired by Jeff Daniels to help him film an audition to get into like an acting school. So it is just these little interactions with different camera people that um that he recruits and meets and sort of
amazing.
draws into his very, very strange world.
Awesome. So it's on Shudder now, yeah?
Yeah, it's on Shudder. First three episodes are currently live. By the looks of that, I think they must be doing like weekly episode drops. Maybe they started with
Mhm.
the first two, and
Hmm.
then end of this week we got the third one. So we got a few weeks of that to enjoy. I'm going to get caught up and then probably watch them as they go. The other thing I saw was, depending on your territory, it's either called Dracula and then a year after it, or The Horror of Dracula, a classic Christopher Lee Dracula, especially after we watched the Christopher Lee documentary at Fright Fest. I really wanted to go back in, and even though he denied his time as Dracula towards the end of his career, I wanted to go and enjoy some of those, and it is such a great, he's not on screen for very long, in fact, but it's such a commanding
No.
performance as Dracula. But the thing that you really need to call out is, I think I even put a little message out about this one. Got a lot of love for um Hugh Jackman. Really enjoy the man from the Monster Squad, but no one has been such a good Van Helsing as Peter Cushing, the man himself. It's like this horror of Dracula is a Van Helsing film. You follow him for most of the film. You do let the investigate purists of the book may say that it's changed it a little from Dracula, but it is
Hmm.
like I don't think it's aged a day. I think the version I watched was a colorized version. I know it was originally released in black and white, but it still plays really, really well. It's really great.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Wait,
Absolute
did we do
belter.
we haven't done I done an
You've
episode
done
on that
some
one?
classic Draculas, but I couldn't tell
Yeah,
you
we've
whether it was
done
that or
the
not. I think this is 58. I'd have to
yeah,
look.
I honestly think we've done the Bela Lugosi Dracula. We did, and I'm pretty sure we did that the one you've just described, but obviously way back
Many years ago.
in the early days of the show. So, would be worth revisiting one of Christopher Lee's performances at some point in the near future. Anything else from
No,
either of you?
that's it for me. Just a film a week.
No.
Mhm.
Only thing I've seen this week, I started watching the documentary, so Doc of Chucky, which is on Shudder as well. We're talking 5 hours here. 5 bloody hours, all about Chucky. I
Your
thought maybe it
favorite
was just
length of a
my
documentary. A little bit
favorite
short,
length of a
maybe.
documentary. I kind of just thought it was going to be like a general sort of discussion about the franchise and the character and Brad Dourif and everything like that. It's kind of like each film getting a real deep dive into everything about it, the making of, behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, so I've only watched maybe the first couple of hours so far, but yeah, definitely a must watch if you're a fan of the Child's Play movies, absolutely. And again, another great addition to Shudder. Almost every week we're getting amazing additions to Shudder, which are keeping us horror fans well and truly happy. I've not really watched anything else horror. I will mention the Penguin TV show, which I finished this week, just because it was great. It was great, and I know not horror, but still, it's got two like real heavyweight performances in it. And I feel like I've been desperate for something that's Batman adjacent, but
Mm.
really doesn't include Batman for so long because the Gotham TV show was basically like just here are all the villains from Batman who are already the villains, even though Batman doesn't exist, which makes no sense at all. And here's
Never
little
mind
Bruce.
there, Bennett plays out. That's why he beats them up so easily, because
Yeah,
he's 20 years younger than all of them.
exactly.
It's
And
like
here's that
Tyson versus what's his chops the other day. If you fight someone that's much younger than you, you'll beat him up really easily, or
exactly.
you'll
Everyone's
lose to
ancient.
them.
There's only maybe one or two occasions in this show where you think, wouldn't Batman show up at some point? Wouldn't Batman get wind of this? But I kind of like it, and it does. It's really a really well written, like crime drama. People have been saying like, oh, it's just like The Sopranos. Like it's probably not in that sort of realm, but at the same time, like Colin Farrell's great, and also Kristen Milioti as Sophia Falcone is so cool. It's unbelievable. At one point in the show, she like gets a lovely what do you call it, a wolf cut or like a shaggy mullet cut,
Mhm.
and honestly, it is like the best look that this character. I don't think has this character ever been on screen before. Sophia Falcone. I know she's obviously a big player. I feel like I bet they included her in Gotham in some way. But in
Didn't
some
watch
Batman
Gotham, but I know that she features in things like
Long Halloween.
the Telltale game. I think she's in that
Oh,
to a degree.
okay. But yeah, the dynamic between her and we get and again, like we were mentioning Wolf Creek and Mick and finding out more about his life with the Penguin stuff. As soon as an episode started and it was like, oh, here's Penguin as a little kid, I was like, oh, do we want to see this? But it's done really sparingly and really well so that we just understand these characters. And it does a lot of show don't tell, which is great, especially for something like this where there's so much lore and so much mythology surrounding this character, but they just really drip feed this stuff in, and it's just yeah, it's really well done. It's only 8 episodes as well, so I think a
Yeah,
perfect.
I want to get on and watch that.
Hmm.
If I may, Ben, I realize I have a combination of a little bit of news, a little bit of thing that I've
You,
seen,
you animal.
and a shout out to a friend of the show. If you are listening and you are in the southwest of the UK in particular, not the southwest of any country or the world, our friend and former guest Janine Pipe is premiering her short movie Charlie Foxtrot is playing this coming Thursday, the 28th of November
28th, I believe that's right. Yeah.
at Create Studios, which is in Swindon. There is a screening of Point Break, and Charlie Foxtrot, her short action movie debut, is being played at the same screening. If that is anywhere near where you are, got UK listeners. If you want to get yourself over there, tickets are available on the Eventbrite page. Look at Janine's social; she's posting them on there. Um, Managed to take a quick look at the movie myself. I thought it was great. I thought it's a lot of fun. Like, Amber is in there as well. So people you recognize, Janine has such a talent as a filmmaker, and she's starting to get more things out now. And you know what? You can go and see that and Point Break in the same evening. What an action-packed Thursday. What else are you doing on a Thursday? If it's within your driving distance, get yourself down there. You'll have a lovely
Sounds
time.
really
Sadly,
lovely.
it's not in my driving distance. I live hundreds of miles away.
Swindon, you
Yeah,
said.
same.
Yeah, Swindon.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got even more of an excuse. You'd have to fly. But yeah, Swindon this
But
Thursday.
I support everything Janine does. She is just lovely and all her work is spot on.
Mm. Oh yeah, definitely. We totally agree, don't we?
Mhm.
And doing something, given in her former career in law enforcement
Mhm.
as well, before she moved to filmmaking, she can obviously bring all that to the screen as well. She presents it as almost a proof of concept for something longer. I would love to see what she would do with more time. She's doing this kind of quality on a micro budget and in 5 minutes. Give her the room to cook and give the
Do you
actually flesh out these stories and the action scenes fully. She would do some wonderful stuff.
do you know last week we talked about Dog Soldiers 2 not being released and Neil Marshall making The Werewolves of London. We talked
Mhm.
about that last week. I feel like, don't you feel, I just got an inkling. You know, when you get an inkling, I feel like Janine's full circle moment is going to be linked somehow. I can imagine. You
It
know,
all
in a
comes
few
together.
years down the line, Dog Soldiers 2, somehow we get funding, somehow it gets pulled out of pre-production, yeah, sort of out of production um, nightmare,
Hell.
and then suddenly Janine's there. I don't know why. Just get a little
Oh,
feeling. Let's see how it pans out. I'm sure she'd be up for that.
And you've
But
said this on the record now, Ben. You'll be able to pull this up and say, "Told you so."
told you
On the
so.
4th of
yes.
November.
I will. Let's remember. Let's put a pin in this and remember it. Okay. So the only other film we've watched that we're here to discuss is Wolf Creek with old Mickey Taylor, the life and times of Mickey Taylor. So it is Wolf Creek is a 2005 Australian horror film written, co-produced, and directed by Greg McLean, starring John Jarratt, Nathan Phillips, Cassandra McGrath, Kestie Morassi. Its plot concerns three backpackers who find themselves taken captive and subsequently hunted by Mick Taylor, a serial killer in the Australian outback. It's ambiguously marketed as being based on true events. Do we know what that's linked to? Apparently, there's some
There are some
murderers
backpack murderers that took
in the
place in
90s.
New South Wales in the late 90s, early 2000s. The guy died in prison, so good on him. Yeah, never admitted the crimes, but I think several backpackers from around the world, not just UK, I think some German backpackers as well.
Wow,
Um,
okay.
and I know that this film had some controversy around that at the time. The location they filmed it, in fact, bit of trivia. I think some local people demonstrated against the filming, thinking that it was directly. I think it was one of the mines that they used, for the old campsite.
Mm,
Someone was murdered at that location, and I think the people in error thought that it was being made literally about that real person who'd been murdered there.
mm,
There is a degree of separation to this. I think conceptually it's based on actual murders that took place, but it's not dramatizing those events. It's just the idea of someone in the outback of Australia that was murdering tourists. So
mm.
still equally unpleasant, but not trying to directly lift off actual real
Yeah.
life tragedies.
So we got 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes score 54% audience, 49% critics. Letterboxd 3.0 out of 5, and some choice reviews from Letterboxd. Groove Man says, a beautifully shot, underrated gem with a great villain. 4.5 stars. Bear Walker says, oh crikey, this is a brutal film, mate. 3.5 stars. Freyer says, as bleak and mean spirited as you might expect from the early mid 2000s, but the true crime inspiration plays a role in this as well. And Spooky Lukey says, dirty, bleak, violent. Mick Taylor is one of the best villains horror ever saw. Ever saw. 4 stars. So there we go. People loving that. Ariel, where would you say this fits in with Millennial Nasties, and what
Mhm.
part in your book does it play?
Yes. So there is a section in my book called Vacations Gone Wrong. and that is where Wolf Creek sits, in there with Hostel, Hostel 2, Turistas, Cabin Fever. Um, that might be it, or I'm forgetting one. But there was this run in the 2000s of young people go on a trip and horrible stuff happens to them.
Mm.
And even though this is, based on true events, it really has that lean from the 2000s of that vacations gone wrong feel. And we were talking before about how the land is such an important part of the Wolf Creek story because there's nowhere to hide in the outback, and I think that is a really interesting take on the vacation gone wrong because it's not like we're trapped in a city where we don't speak the language. It's like, oh, we're in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very effective, very scary. And I don't know, it feels like something like this hits home to me. It feels a lot more grounded than something like Hostel, I guess. I guess
Yeah.
probably the one vacation gone wrong that affects me the most is probably Eden Lake. That's the one.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there are
Yeah.
some kind of like mean-spirited similarities, I think, with this.
Yeah, you get like big Eden Lake, and like Eden Lake, oddly enough, feels sometimes even more mean-spirited than this as well. I think because they're children, I think it makes it even more affecting.
I feel like, yeah, it's because it's like here's a person that you've definitely the kind of person you've definitely met. Here's the kind of person that you would be familiar with, as Australian audiences of this film probably would be. They probably all know someone like Mick. There's probably someone like Mick in their lives who is an absolutely lovely guy, a helpful guy, someone who would help random people who've broken down in their car. And when we get to see that other side of that person who just seems like a average guy or someone that we would meet, it is all that much more terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's not like a
Yeah.
huge switch up in his demeanor, I never find. It isn't like he lets the
Right.
mask drop and then suddenly he's a completely different, like cold-blooded killer. The mask never really does drop, and it never quite ever feels like a mask.
He always seems like he strikes you when he's talking normally as like a rough and ready, very capable guy.
Yes.
Obviously he just exposes the violence, which he doesn't until he's captured these people and they're kind of at his mercy a bit later on, right? But he never
Hmm.
makes it a secret like he's, when you first meet them, he's not like, oh, I wouldn't hurt a fly. He's not like Norman Batesing it. He shares with them straight away that he is a very capable hunter, that he is like able
Yes.
to repair a truck, that that he's a very capable outdoor survival guy. They know that he's living in an abandoned mining camp,
Hmm.
to begin with, as soon as they see his house. But like only his true intentions are the only things that really come out a little bit later on.
Mm. Um, yeah, I mean a super low budget. Well, I say super low, not super low, but
More than
one,
you'll ever see.
one, yeah. I mean, not change to me. 1.4 million, and it made like about 35 million as well, which is pretty good going. And obviously, we did see a sequel, which I think came out in 2000 and was it 2013? It was quite
A
a
little
while
gap between
afterwards.
them, right? Yeah.
A little gap
Yeah.
between them, which is weird because I guess like films like this, usually the sequel would be like a couple of years later if they were successful,
Right.
wouldn't
Yeah, 2013 is the second one, and then 2016 for the TV show.
Hmm.
it? Okay, definitely want to check both of those out soon. Okay, so in terms of characters, as we mentioned before, John Jarratt, Mick Taylor, and then there's three main characters, the three main backpackers, Liz, Christy, and Ben. And then you said
Mhm.
all Australian actors, did you say?
All Australian actors. And I think at the time, I think when I first saw this movie, maybe I wasn't attuned, but now about 80% of the media that I listen to on podcasts is Australian. So now you can, even when they're doing, even when an Australian actor is doing another national accent, you can detect it a
You
little
can
bit
tell.
more easily. I think especially in these ones, and it's no fault of them, it is perfect. Their accents are perfectly serviceable. But I
Mhm.
think our two female leads do go for like the broadest, like some of the easier like UK regional accents. They're both like from South London, um, with a little bit of Hermione knocked into some of the others, but it sometimes slips, particularly when they're shouting and screaming, which, given the nature of the film, it does like lead to those things. Like the accents sometimes slip a little bit, but yeah,
Hmm.
all Australian actors,
Mhm.
and it's an Australian production. I'm guessing this was partially funded by Film Australia. Like they have a film industry that promotes homegrown talent, and why not? There's a lot of our most famous actors come from there, so
It's a real place as well, isn't it? Wolf Creek,
I
the sort
imagine
of
it must have been. I don't know if it's
meteorite
actually called Wolf
crater.
Creek where they filmed it, but
Oh, apparently it is. It is. There's a real place
Mm.
called Wolf Creek, but with an E on the end of Wolf. So
Ah.
they've changed that. Don't confuse
Mm.
anyone. And I think there's some stuff in Broome, which is where they like start off from, isn't it? Which is a place, definitely a place. I know that. Yeah, I bet this strikes me as the kind of film that probably did really well in the DVD market as well, didn't it? I wonder how much of it's.
I think
Have
I
you?
first saw it on DVD.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I must have as well. Where do you think it stands alongside those films you mentioned, Ariel? Do you think it's like one of the best, or do you feel like it's always kind of secondary to things like Hostel?
Personally, I think it's one of the best.
Hmm.
I think Australians do a great job with horror movies about when you're stuck relying on the kindness of a stranger and they
Mm-hmm.
screw you over.
Mm.
They do that trope better than anybody. And I think, like, I enjoy, especially Hostel 2. I love the first one. I could take or leave sometimes, but um just the meanness of Mick and how realistic and possible it feels, and just how much of a choice the backpackers, they didn't have a choice.
Hmm.
They really had to go with him. They really had to rely on him, and he
Yeah.
just does the worst thing possible. I think Australia nails that.
Hmm.
That might be a stereotype or a bias of mine or something, but every time they do a movie with that sort of theme, they nail it.
Yeah. I think it just feels a lot more believable. The kind of characters we get,
Hmm.
the situation they're in, it just feels a lot more believable. It's not sort of overdone too much. It's not
Yeah.
hugely Hollywood in terms of the way, you know, some of these characters might be represented, or even some of the dialogue between them,
Hmm.
it feels quite realistic. They feel like free realistic people, and
Hmm.
when they get into trouble the way they do, you're almost like, what would I do in this situation? And
Yeah.
most of the time in these films, you go, well, I wouldn't do that. But in this film, you're like, well, I probably would do that because there is literally no other choice,
Yep.
nowhere else to go. It's pitch black, and the car battery is bloody flat.
We're gonna
Um,
have to talk about the car battery going flat and everything else going flat. Actually, you
yeah,
know what? Let's hit this from now.
what's all that about?
Space aliens or no?
Well, magnetic fields. That
Yeah.
crossed my mind. I don't know. Is that what's going on?
But that conversation, like
He obviously
three
knows, Mick.
things come together. There is like
Hmm.
the most subtle subplot ever. The car batteries and the car battery goes flat and their watches stop.
Hmm.
But then why does he tell the weird abduction story about space aliens in the build up otherwise? And then at the end, before he collapses in the desert, it's found eclipse for no reason.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
is weird, isn't it? But yeah,
So
I
my
was.
big overarching everything else. We're not even going to mention this again, everybody. We're going to play the film as it goes, but just remember, space aliens? Question mark? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe there's a spin-off, Wolf Creek. Maybe that's like the way why he is the way he is because he's seen some shit. Mick Taylor,
Out
living
there
out
in
there,
the
he's
in
seen
the
some
wilderness.
aliens.
Either it's going to be like Silent Hill 2, and there is just a secret ending where it is just space aliens or a dog that's causing the whole thing.
Space aliens or a dog, or is a dog controlling everything?
To me, it's sort of I don't know if there's aliens or not. That's definitely something I thought about the first time I watched this film because they set it up that way. I think it highlights how much you're at the mercy of nature
Mm.
and things out of your control. Um, Not that aliens are necessarily nature, but they're at the mercy of maybe magnetic forces, maybe the weather, maybe animals, definitely the land. The sun will really get you out there. So To
Mm.
me, it was kind of part of this highlighting how helpless they are without, the thing they relied on, their car. Without that, they're suddenly just at the mercy of the whole world.
Yeah. And don't they reveal that I think they say at one point they've got lots of everything except water as well. Another
Yes.
thing that you would be
Oh
in a
God.
lot of trouble with very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that stuff is scary because you think of the huge long stretches in these drives where you're literally nowhere near anyone, not any sort of civilization, and then
Mhm.
the car that they're in as well, which it's not a
Got
it's
an
not
old
like a
banger,
top,
really, haven't
it's
they?
not like
He's bought this
yeah,
car cheap secondhand to do this cross-country drive.
yeah,
Mhm.
And as you say, like there is a bit just before they get stuck where I think they stop and we have like like a classic wilderness Hills Have Eyes style petrol station encounter where they pull in. It says like last petrol for 800 kilometers, and the distance here is
God,
so great that not only do they have to fill up the car, they have to fill a jerry can with petrol
Mhm.
mm,
as well because the drive is so significant that they are going to have to do a full tank of petrol and refill from a separate can before they're going to be near enough to civilization to fill up again.
mm, yeah, exactly. Um, so it's not good. It's not good. It's pretty terrifying. So it's set
But
in
we begin with a
1990.
classic Holidays Gone Wrong, though, with a lovely sort of party and on the beach scene, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you got to
We're
set the
never
scene.
drinking again. And then they get hammered. And yes.
And a big pool party where people do crazy things like jump into the pool with their clothes on.
Oh
A
yeah,
simpler time.
jump in the pool with clothes on. Pull someone else into the pool with clothes on. These days, you'd be like, "No, my phone's in my pocket.
Well,
Leave me
this
My
is in the
phone.
golden era,
Yeah.
Ben. Like,
Exactly.
I don't see a mobile phone in this film.
No.
No, no. Well, it's set in 1999 as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, they were briefcases at this point.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
like
So as you said, they buy a dilapidated car for their journey from Broome to Cairns in Queensland, uh, via the Great Northern Highway. So this just looks like a road that sort of goes north, isn't it? No, they're going south, aren't they? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. That's right. Um, and what is the relationship between these characters? So you've got Ben, who's like, he says he's got a girlfriend, doesn't he? They haven't just all randomly met, have they? So it's two British tourists, Liz and Kestie, and they meet. They have met Ben, or they've been backpacking with him for a while, right?
Yeah, we don't really find out how they all met, but I get the sense that Liz and Christy are friends from before the trip and they came together and
Hmm.
they met Ben at some point and decided to go on. They mentioned they're going to be on the road for 3 weeks, so they're going to go on some road trip together.
Hmm.
Um, Ben says he has a girlfriend in Sydney, but he's obviously interested in Liz.
Yeah.
So I think the whole group hasn't been hanging out together that long.
No. No.
but
Um.
they're obviously getting on well enough, and as they put it, that this is great, great slang, great, great localization here as well, where she goes, "I reckon he fancies you." You two fancy each other. Um, yeah,
Is that you doing a
that's me
Australian doing
doing
an English
them, doing
accent?
us. Yeah.
I thought
Uh,
so.
Um,
Thought so.
so they obviously have met and got on well enough that they're willing to commit to this drive. I've looked up
Mhm.
the distance if you want to drive up from Broome to Cairns.
Go on.
I mean, Ariel, this would be more your speed with driving because the US you do far bigger drives than us. For Ben and
Mhm.
I, once you're 100 miles, that's a real big drive. But how far do you want a little guessing game? How far in kilometers do you think this drive is? So you know, put you at a slight disadvantage there.
Oh, bloody
Yeah.
hell. How far in kilometers? Isn't there a bit where they drive into somewhere and it says it's like 1,200 kilometers through the Wolf Creek bit? Did they say that?
I'm not going to give you any clues,
So
Ben. One, because I don't remember.
I find kilometers confusing. Sorry.
Me too.
Just
Me
just
too.
I only
Um,
measure in freedom units.
1.6 to a mile. If you want to do the conversion, be my
wait,
guest.
how many to a
No.
mile?
1.6. Or is it 1.8? One of those two.
Okay.
1.8.
Let's make a terrible, terrible guess at 1,500 kilometers. Terrible guess?
I'll take. We'll see who's close. So 1500. Any
I
advance on that?
I have no clue. We'll do Price is Right rules. I'll say 1200.
Good.
Well, I'm afraid Ben's going to take that one. The drive
Okay.
distance from Broome to Cairns is
Holy smokes.
3,532 kilometers, which, based on
Jesus.
Wow.
current traffic conditions, if you were to leave 2 minutes ago when I Googled this, it would take you 38 hours and 8 minutes to drive.
Wow. I
Currently, the
mean,
Yeah.
traffic is pretty light.
yeah. When you say it like that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but like it depends how much patience you got for driving. Because I feel like when I drive, 4 hours is like I've had enough by that point.
38
Especially if
hours. I
it's
reckon
just
that's a big drive.
boring stretches of land. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like interesting things to stop and do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose they are sharing the driving between two of them, aren't they? But still, again, another thing that's kind of realistic is you can tell no one wants to drive. There's a bit where they go, "Do you want to drive first?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't really mind." And he goes, "Well," like, you could just tell no one wants to bloody
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, that is ridiculous. What's the longest drive you've ever done? Either of you?
Um, all at once, I did 12 hours by
Wow.
myself.
By yourself? What? With how?
In a snowstorm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's rough.
That sounds made up, but it's completely true.
And how far did you
Um,
get in that distance with, 12 hours? Was it
it
hard going because it was snow, or did you manage a long
was
way?
hard going. So where I went to university was an 8-hour drive away from my home, like in normal conditions. And one of the times I drove home, it was snowing real bad. I'm from a place where it gets super snowy. So instead of 8 hours, it took me 12. Um,
Oh, okay. So you
and I
got
have to
delayed.
cross a 5-mile bridge, like a suspension bridge.
Wow.
Mm.
And in bad
Yeah.
weather.
Mm-hmm. It was horrifying. I'm super afraid of bridges. So that's definitely the most intense drive I ever did.
Yeah, I can't compete anywhere near to that. I've done like a 8, 9 hour car journey, and that's with
That's
like
rough though.
breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm actually
It
not sure.
sucks.
I'm actually not
You
sure
just
with
on your
me.
honeymoon, Ben, did you not do any big drives across country in California?
No, because we broke it down quite a lot. Like we sort of stopped halfway and stayed the night and stuff.
Hmm.
I genuinely reckon six. Six is probably the most for me.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
probably your drive to Thought Bubble, isn't it, when you come up with Luke?
That is pretty much my drive to Thought Bubble. Like, but again, I like would usually if I do have a big drive like that, you would usually just break it up so it doesn't feel half
Hmm.
as daunting. Oh, yeah, I'm not. To be fair, I'm not really a big
But
fan
yeah, you're
of the
not
old
made of the
driving.
stern stuff that Liz, Christy, and Ben are. They are
No,
willing to take it
not at all.
across country.
Not at all.
But
Not
yeah,
at all.
that does, looking at the map here, I mean, it doesn't, even then, this isn't taking you into the absolute depths of the center of Australia and the real intense deserts that are there, but it is taking you straight across the coast, across the Northern Territory. There are crosses of sort of desert land that are across there as well. If you are driving from, it is coast to coast across the country. So that is a pretty epic drive in some difficult conditions. And I guess like
Yeah.
our exposure to that is, and we'll conjure up again, the hills have eyes territory. You imagine those long
Mhm.
highways in the US that are just hours upon hours and miles upon miles of just directly straight road through quite a
Hmm.
like an arid and sparse environment.
Hmm. You better hope your air conditioning doesn't break.
Oh
That'd be
my
the day,
God,
wouldn't it?
yeah. Oh my God. Um, okay, so first of all, they make a stop at. Wait, where do they? So I think the first stop that they do is this
Well, they
when
have
all
the pool
those
party, and then they have a lovely camp out in
pool
like a
party and then a
caravan
lovely
site, which
camp
is when
out.
they talk about the space aliens. And I
Mm.
think the main thing to say here is that they take quite a while to establish the quite a lot of time passes, certainly versus a more modern film where you're just
Hmm.
establishing the characters, nothing untoward is happening until they stop for petrol at that out of the way petrol stop, which
Mm.
nothing truly comes from. I think I had some suspicions watching. It was like, oh, are these going to be a group of wrong'uns that they meet? And they are, but just like it's just local assholes, not actually
Yeah, they're just
murderers.
right. They're being a nuisance. They're being rude, but they're not murdering anybody. So we
Yeah.
give
The
them a pass.
the
Yeah.
classic move of talking about some ladies as they come in, and then when the man walks in, you say, "There's one for you," to to the other
Yeah.
one. Some classic joshing, which is you say obviously they're not murdering anyone, but like especially one of them is quite
Being like menacing, and then like
quite menacing.
when
Yeah.
Yeah.
when then Ben tells him like, "Oh, you piece of shit" or something like that. Then he stands up to start a fight, but then
Whoa.
he's defeated by some negging, and he goes, "Nice
Hmm.
teeth, mate." And his mates go, "Ah, got him." He's like,
You got as many teeth in your head as you have brain cells, I see.
"Yeah, I see, mate. More teeth than tattoos, more tattoos than teeth, rather. Come on, get out of there." Um, yeah. So, but and then nothing really comes to it though. It's like it's an unpleasant and it's a
Hmm.
tense experience where they're put into a corner where the guy is being quite obviously loud and threatening, particularly
Hmm.
towards the women, and to all of them really, because he's implying that the guy has something to do with it and maybe sort of challenging him to it, but they kind of laugh it off and all walk away and then don't need to think about it again, and then they head. And at this point, maybe 20 odd minutes of the film has already passed when they actually get to the Wolf Creek crater.
Hmm.
Um, where they get, and it's an incredible scene. Another little bit of trivia that came up while I was reading about this is that the place where they filmed Wolf Creek, it had not rained there for 10 years, until the day they came and filmed it, and then it started raining. But the director
Really?
thought
Oh,
actually it added to the
It
atmosphere. The
had not
first time
rained
it had
for
rained
how
there in
long?
years.
How long
10
did you
years.
say? 10 years.
10 years, no rain.
that's
Jesus.
crazy.
That is insane. Yeah. 10 years of no rain. Everyone was
Imagine that. Wouldn't have
gasping.
bought an umbrella, would you? And then there you go.
Oh, no,
Keep
you
those
wouldn't have.
cameras
And then
dry.
someone would have been like, oh, you never know. And then I go to them, 10 years with no rain. And you think just because you turn up, it's going to rain. And I'd be happy to be proved wrong. It's
Yeah,
fine.
there they are.
So yeah, then they go to the Wolf Creek National Park, which is where they stop and have a look at the old meteor
Now, is it
crater.
Liz that gets together with Ben, or is it Christy?
Liz.
Liz,
Hmm.
because they fancy each other, and Christy says, "Come on now, you guys need to sort out what's going on with you two. Sort out whether you've got a bloody girlfriend or not, Ben."
Come on,
Um,
Ben.
and
Sort
Come
it
then
on,
out.
um,
Ben.
and then
Sort it out.
we'll when we get to Cairns, nowhere before, only at a final destination, will I meet up with someone as well, and we'll have a great time. But they just
Mhm.
have a nice little snog to establish their relationship, um, while sitting looking over the crater. And it's not played for particularly long. It's just a tiny little bit, right? Again, it's just this little tiny thing to show that they are real characters, not just
Yeah, they're
bags
both
of
both a
meat that
little
you're going to get killed by a murderer
Mhm.
bloke in a bit.
both a little bit shy, when they're doing it.
Yeah.
It seems pretty legitimate, doesn't it?
It's never going to work out. It's a backpacking holiday. Come on.
They'll never speak to each other again. Oh, I'll keep in touch with you when you get back to the UK. Yeah.
Facebook. It's 1999, Ben.
Yeah. It's 1999.
The
What are you
best I
gonna
can promise you is I'll put you on my top 6 on MySpace.
do? And that's 10 years.
Technically, it's a top 5 because Tom's on there.
Yeah, what's Tom doing on there hogging up a space? For God's sake.
He's been there since the beginning, Ben. He's can't fire him off.
Sick of him. I'm sick of him.
Wonder what he's doing these days. You ever wonder?
He sold
Yeah.
MySpace while the going is good, while the going was good, and now travels the world doing
Hmm.
what he enjoys. He is independently wealthy and does travel photography.
Good for him.
I don't have
Yes, Tom.
encyclopedic knowledge about anyone what they're doing now. I just happen to know what Tom from
Yeah,
MySpace
yeah.
is
What's
doing.
everyone doing? What's John Jarratt up to now? What's Jeff Jarratt up to now? Both of them.
I don't
Probably
know.
smashing a guitar over a woman's head.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Which one? Which one of them? John or
Yeah.
Jeff?
I meant Jeff Jarratt.
No.
I got no beef with John Jarratt.
I mean,
No beef with John Jarratt. Jeff
Jeff
Jarrett's still
Jarratt is
going,
setting
isn't he?
himself up for failure when your character is problematic towards women. What's your real life going to be like? Maybe
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was very nice. Jeff
Yeah.
Jarratt, if you're listening, write in. Tell
There's
us.
gonna be an episode of Dark Side of the Ring somewhere. I think I've got like 5 series of it to watch, so we'll find out. We'll find out if Jeff Jarrett's good or bad, and we'll report back. I'll tell you who's not good though. Not John Jarratt, but his character, Mick Taylor, who turns up. Well, actually,
They break
getting a
down,
bit ahead of ourselves. They break down, they go back to the car,
and their
realize that
watches don't work. This is, very strange stuff. So their watches aren't working, but Ben estimates that maybe they've got like an hour left of light, and then the car's not starting.
yeah.
They do the classic, tell you what, stereotypes. Ben is like, let's have a look under the bonnet, will you?
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's looking at.
To be fair, in my head, I was thinking, this is exactly like something I would do. Just look under and
Open it
go,
up.
"Oh,
Yeah.
bloody hell.
Engine's
Oh,
still there.
who
I'm
knows?
at a loss.
Who knows what's wrong with it? Who knows?
Open the engine. You could open the boot and go, well, we've got window washer fluid. That's me out.
That's good. That's good. That's definitely going to help. Oil levels are all right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Well,
but the dipstick, yeah, it's between
the
those two
dipstick?
dots. That's fine.
between those two dots, always is. Always is. It's fine. Who knows? I also love. What, the car's not starting? I'd be like, let me have a go then. And then thinking that you'd have the magic
Let me
touch.
see if I can turn the key more
Right,
effectively.
right.
I've got the magic touch. Yeah, but no, they're screwed, and they pretty much they go, right, we're gonna have to spend the night. We're gonna have to sleep in this car, because it's pretty close to sundown anyway, isn't it? I think they work out. So which they do, and then in the middle of the night, is it in the middle of the night, or maybe just a little bit after sunset?
It's certainly after dark, because I imagine somewhere like that in the wilderness as well, it's going to get dark quick and then be pitch black.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you've got no light pollution. We had a scene earlier on where they're looking at the stars and saying like it's incredible, there's no light pollution and so on. So yeah, and they have a little bit of a scare thinking that it might be space aliens, but it's not, because they realize that they can hear an engine. Because as everyone knows, flying saucers, very quiet.
yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Completely quiet. This is scary though. I think I'd be scared in this moment, even if I did know. It was a call.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, because you don't know what their intentions are, who they are, why they're
No.
coming up. Like,
No,
one of my
definitely.
theories is that, like, so maybe the like magnet forces of the land make their watches stop working, but maybe Mick comes and drains their battery while they're on a hike and then comes back for them later.
Okay.
I don't know.
Or
That's
just
something
somehow
I thought of.
sabotages the car, right? Like,
Yeah.
just something to it. Because we see a little bit later on that he was at the petrol station.
Yeah. And because it seems like this is the thing he does regularly as well. Like
Yeah.
he seems to follow people who I guess he knows are going to this place. He knows that they're going to be away from the car. Because how long are they away from the cars? It is a while, isn't it?
At least 3 hours. It was a
they
3-hour
tell us that
hike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a 3 hour
So-
hike. So he knows they're away, so he can do pretty much whatever he wants at that point, and then sort of come. And he knows
Come
that when he
back for
arrives,
him.
he's going to be like the hero arriving, isn't he?
He comes up again, really jolly, capable guy, and he's like, "What are you mob doing out here?" Oh, well, it's a good job that I came, because he could have said anything there. It's like me looking at cars, because oh, your coil has gone up. Like, oh,
Yeah.
coil, yeah. I know that.
the bloody
I'm like,
coil,
oh.
not the bloody coil.
Not
is
the
it?
coil.
Like
I
when
just
you
got
go
the
to buy-
coils torqued the other
Yeah.
day.
Like when you like anyone, any fucker who buys like a car on like Auto Trade, or whatever, look under the engine, mate. Like I've just been honest. I've been to these things. I've been with friends to look at cars, and they've gone, yeah, it looks like an engine. Do you want me to kick the tires and make myself look really official?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a wheel in there. Yeah. Got all your seat belts, right? But yeah, mixes it's stupidity.
It's got four
The-
wheels.
Yeah, your
Four
Zama
wheels.
flange is gone. Like, oh, not that.
Not
Oh
the
no.
flange.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, and that's what they worry about, because he says, well,
Yeah.
I can give you a tow to my house. Not going to say any more details than that. Give you a tow to my place.
My gaff.
Fix it tonight. Get you on the road in the morning. And Liz and Kestie are like, oh, that could cost
Dodgy.
hundreds of pounds. And he goes, oh, ask him if it's going to cost hundreds of pounds. They send Ben over. He goes, it's going to cost hundreds of pounds. He goes, I won't charge you any money. That's right.
Money? No, I'll do this on good faith. Don't worry about that.
He goes, well, can you not take us to... Oh, that's the opposite way to where I'm going. So I can take you to my house and fix your car for free, or I can
Hmm.
leave you here and then maybe someone will drive past eventually. And they
They have
obviously
no
take the
choice.
former.
They really
Yeah.
have no choice. Yeah.
No, exactly. Because if someone drives past, you're going to end up in a similar situation anyway. You know, you're not going to end up in a much better situation unless
Mhm.
someone with a tow truck like drives by, like from a legitimate tow truck company. You know,
Yeah.
that's the only way it's going
There's
to
a
be
local
better.
tow truck company that actually just does patrols. Like,
Yeah,
let's see if
yeah,
anyone's
yeah,
broken
yeah.
down.
So handy.
And we
Um,
also do it for free.
hmm. um, so yeah, but essentially, I go with him to a abandoned mining site, which is
And they
several.
drive
It
for
takes
ages.
ages, takes bloody hours, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Several hours south of Wolf Creek. Um, but yeah, when they get there, they have a nice little bond. I guess like bonding session. He regales them with various stories. What kind of things does he say?
Mhm.
It tells them
Well,
about his
that's when he,
hunting. Yeah.
yeah, that's when he talks about kangaroo hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kangaroo hunting and like also boars. Tells a story about one of the
Hmm.
days a boar chopped one of his dog's heads off, fair dinkum.
Fair
Um,
dinkum.
yeah, it's exactly what he says. Uh, and then he does a big pause when Ben, also an Australian, does a Crocodile Dundee quote at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Also Australian now. If it was the British guys doing it, you'd be like, oh, a bit in poor taste. But because it's the Australian guy, you're like, yeah, yeah, fair enough.
It's
Not a
like it
knife.
looks like he is on a Zoom call and he's frozen. He spends about a minute like just going,
Yeah.
yeah, probably that looks at him for ages. Um, and like they like quote back his things to him as well. It's like, oh, please stop. No wonder he's become a murderer. You lot are
Yeah.
always saying is like no like to what to Mick, and I imagine I know not everyone in Australia uses like all stereotypical Australian slang, but it must be so annoying. People saying things
Yeah.
back to you.
It must be so annoying. Yeah.
Especially when you've just done them a favor.
Yeah.
Right.
How dare would
Right.
you? How rude.
Yeah. And
Terribly
like he
rude.
also seems to take a little bit of umbrage when like Ben says, "Oh, it must be brilliant though, having like the freedom to be, just to be out here, just to be free and enjoy living off the land."
Mhm.
And maybe like again, maybe this will be explored in future things, but maybe it is a thing. Maybe this is something that, and I don't think, given some of the things that Mick does in this film, I don't think there's any level of thing that we can do. Oh, actually, he's a really sympathetic character.
No.
He was driven to this life, but there may be some element of, the fact that he is constantly on the edge of survival and he is doing, or he has been out there because his way of life has been massively disrupted, or because he talks
Mhm.
about how there's no work out here
Yep.
anymore because they've stopped using hunters and they now just poison pests that they don't want on their farmland. These massive, massive tracts of farmland where he even mentions that there are talks of people getting lost on their own land
Mhm.
and
It's
not being
very
seen.
brings to mind The Hills Have Eyes, Wrong Turn, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. People
Mm,
put out a work and desperate,
yeah.
like, and
Mhm.
again, I don't think Mick Taylor's a sympathetic character either. But it's kind of in that folk slasher vein of we were okay until we lost our ability to work and the land took us over.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, totally understandable, but I guess definitely not a sympathetic character because of
No.
violence against women, and evidently children later on. I mean, I'm assuming, right? I
Yeah.
know we don't see anything, but we
Yeah.
don't.
We can assume that those people were at very least killed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he probably let the kid go.
Yeah.
No. I
So,
mean, I think that's what's
Run
kind
on,
of
you little scamp.
that's kind of what's horrible about it is because a lot of this is kind of like what we don't see, even though we
Mhm.
do
yes.
see evidence of like he's killed an entire family essentially. Um,
Mhm.
by the fact that they were videotaping while while they were in exactly the same situation as our characters as well.
Hmm.
Stop,
And he does the
stop
same
filming
phrases
this.
as well. He goes, "Oh, do you want some water?" Like, and he says, I forget what he says, but it's like nothing beats the water from somewhere.
Like the top of the mountain or something. He says
Yeah,
Yeah,
fresh from the top or something. Yeah.
yeah.
He does.
yeah.
He uses the exact same phrases.
Mm.
But it's filled with something that makes them like it's
Hmm.
some sort of draft that makes them fall asleep because I think Liz can't even get round to finishing that he needs to move the esky away from the fire.
Oh
Um
yeah, yeah.
and then like the film up until this point in a real sliding doors situation here, if you cut the film here and then put a different ending on it, it could just be a nice one. Could it be a we
A
Yeah.
talked
nice one.
we talked about Heretic last week and not being the typical Hugh Grant film and it could be like, a film of romantic misunderstandings. You could put a back half on this film of romantic misunderstandings where they wake up and like Mick has made them a nice breakfast and that couple gets together then his girlfriend is there in the morning and it's ever
Mm-hmm.
so awkward. Um
Yeah.
Totally
That
different
would be a
film.
different, yep,
And you'd
Yeah.
be
different film.
and
You
you'd be
wanna
grossly uncomfortable for a whole different set of
you
reasons.
wanna come and see
Yeah.
Wolf Creek with me this weekend? Oh yeah, what's that about? Just about these backpackers whose car breaks down and this man helps them, and then
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
And like
Sounds great.
Mick has to pretend to be Liz's boyfriend until Ben can resolve things with his girlfriend.
Oh, sounds
And in
Oh,
the end
sounds great.
it turns out that Ben and Kestie end up together and the girlfriend actually really falls for Mick. It's a whole thing. And everyone's happy by the end.
honestly, I want to see this. This sounds great.
Wolf Creek, nice cuts.
Nice cut. Exactly.
Where we get
Um,
to use John Jarratt's light entertainment background
mm,
Hmm.
for Better Homes and Gardens to bring that's part of the story to life. Unfortunately, though, I mean, not for the sake of horror content, but for the sake of everyone's faith in humanity and kindness of strangers, that's not the ending that we've got here. We've got the Wolf Creek original cut,
Yeah.
whereby smash cut to Liz waking up tied up in like another room. Very good, and it's such a harsh cut as well, right? Because it literally
yeah.
goes
Yeah.
from her
Just like
falling asleep to
just in
this,
a horrible room as well, just like in a horrible um and
like
she's
a
just like what
grotty, like it's like
cable
a
tied
storage
around,
container.
yeah, cable tied around the like ankles and the wrist, and like she's got a gag on. Um and again, like the way she gets out, I mean, it's not it does take her some effort to get out as well. But I guess this kind of highlights the fact that Mick is also like not the most, I mean, he is resourceful to a degree, but at the same time he's quite haphazard in the way he sort of does these things, which is why people end up escaping, he ends up getting shot, and like, yeah, he's not, I'm sure it's not the first time either. So yeah, she wakes up gagged and tied. She manages to break free using like a sliver of glass.
She's like a cutty
Hmm.
thing that she finds, right?
Yeah. I always think this. Do you always think, how would you fare in this particular situation? I always feel like, would
Yeah,
you
I'd,
just
I'd be
lie down?
dead.
What was that?
I'd be dead.
You'd be dead.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
always
I
think
would.
now, I was going, would I have had a get out of that?
I'd probably find something to fling myself off and like at least rob him of the pleasure. I'd be like, right,
Right.
guess
Kill
what, Mick?
yourself.
I wouldn't have, when they pushed the car off, they just gone off over it in the end. So see
Hmm.
you later, Mick.
You'd find that
Although I've dead, I've wrecked your car. I win.
I win. I've got loads of cars here. I've got loads. Nah, not mine. You'd find
Is
that
this your
piece of glass.
favorite? It is. Well,
Oh, God. You'd find that piece of glass, and everyone watching would go, "Oh, he's got a bit of glass. He's going to be fine." But then you go, "Oh no, he's killed himself."
and then right 1-0, just as I die.
1-0 to Andy.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. So
that's not what Liz does though. She breaks out.
yeah,
Mhm.
she
And
breaks out,
then
and it's pretty much. It looks like she's going to run away, just run off into
Mhm.
the night. But then she hears Kestie screaming
Mhm.
in the I guess like garage area, isn't it?
yeah,
And this is where I guess we first of all we first get to see like what Mick has done to this character, but also we first get
Mhm.
to see like, I guess, Mick in his true self coming out, and how horrible he can be.
Yeah. So it's evident that he's clearly been assaulting her for an extended period. She is
Mhm.
bloody, she is tied up, she is hysterical. Um, and he's implying that there is more of it to come. He motions to a severely mutilated and tied up corpse when he who another woman's body who we don't recognize, is never introduced to us as a character, but he points out that she lasted for months. So this is clearly
Yeah.
something which is,
Yeah,
ongoing. Like, it is really unpleasant, right?
yeah,
Yes.
incredibly unpleasant. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And we're under no illusions that this is what he absolutely has planned for these guys as well. And maybe you do get a slight glimpse into his motivations in there, because he mentions always using contraception because he didn't know where these bloody foreigners have been. So there is a
Yeah.
degree of like a hate or a
a
xenophobia
hate
based
or
on
xenophobia. Yeah, I was going to say that.
tourists
Hmm.
coming to this land that he's obviously very familiar with.
Hmm.
So maybe there is like this treating these invaders with
What
particular disdain.
do you think this did for the Australian tourism in the years that in the years leading up to this, and sorry, the years after this?
Didn't it hurt
Uh,
Australian tourism? I thought that it really actually did.
Really?
There
Okay.
was
Or
probably a
did I
backlash
invent
statement.
that?
There was probably a backlash statement about it. I feel like at the time as well, there was the backpack murders, and then there was
Mhm.
another one. Bear with me, and I will look up that case as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there were definitely, I think, statements by the tourist board saying, obviously, this is not an accurate portrayal of what the country is like. Australia,
Mhm.
as a whole, is a very safe country, and so on and so on. I imagine it was probably a
Okay.
similar approach to much like Hostel did for Eastern Europe, right?
There
Yes.
there is a story from 2009 that says, "Is Australia scaring off tourists with its horror movies?" Um, Not just movies like Wolf Creek, but also movies which make out that there are poisonous snakes, giant spiders, and jellyfish and sharks at every turn.
Yeah, yes.
So I think it's like a bit of both, like those sort of films and this film as well.
Well, and Wolf Creek was really responsible for kicking off another wave of Australian horror since the exploitation era in the 70s had sort of ended.
Yeah, of course.
The the public money for films in Australia wasn't as interested in horror films after that. But once Wolf Creek became a hit, they actually were able to get more funding for horror films again, and it kicked off another round.
Wow.
Mhm.
So lots of reasons to get scared of Australia after that because they were cranking out the horror movies.
Yeah. In that period, I was able to look it up. The one that was very much in the news and being prosecuted at around the time of Wolf Creek's release is the murder of a British tourist called Peter Falconio. Quite a complex case. He was killed in the Northern Territory of Australia. So that was certainly from a UK news cycle. The murder trial around that was fairly fresh in people's memories at the time this film was released. So I think it had a bit of a political and tourist driven waves around that at that time. But as you say, from a film industry point of view, I think it showcased that there was a lot of horror that could be derived from there and really upped
Mhm.
Australian cinema's output for that genre.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that happens, doesn't it? Okay, so Liz obviously goes back to get Kestie. In there, Mick is like taunting Kestie, isn't he? I think it's
Mhm.
implied that he's sexually assaulted her already, but that he's going
Mhm.
to again. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Um,
believe so. I think it's not made explicitly clear, but I think
Mhm.
with the mention of him saying that he always uses like contraception, I think that's what we're getting at, and she's in a terrible state already.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
she so Liz creates a distraction by she finds their car has been entirely stripped for parts. So he is actually like again, he has completely scavenged all of their anything they had of value. He has
Mhm.
taken for his own, including them. And so she responds then by she gets creates a distraction by starting a fire. She sets their vehicle ablaze.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or when does she put the like gas canister on the fire as well?
That's then. So basically,
That's
what
the
she
same
does is
time.
she fills the car with petrol, sets it on fire, and then then she breaks like the camp stove or the gas canister around there, which by the time the flames reach it will cause
Mm.
an explosion.
Mick comes out and he says something like, "Come on, Mick. First rule of fire is
Rule
remember to
number
put it
one.
out. Remember to put it out." Which is pretty funny. This is the thing, right? It's so brutal and he's so horrible, and the acts he's committing are so horrible. But it's so easy to just kind of like chuckle, like when he said just by his demeanor and just like his attitude and the things he says, isn't it?
Mhm.
Hmm.
So in a way, that kind of does bring your guard down a bit to the point where you're like, yeah, that probably is why he's managed to get to so many people the way he has.
Yeah, it's
Um,
quite a disarming character, right, when he's being nice.
Yes.
yeah. Um,
So
Liz
she's able
manages.
to sneak in and
Yep.
begins to release Kestie, but then Mick comes back and she has to hide.
Yep.
He's taunting Kestie in the face, and then she starts laughing as um, a gun is clicked behind her. And I know the film would just end, so it can't happen like this. I think when someone has proven themselves to be that bad, I'm
Yep.
going to go on the record here. This is maybe not the official position of the Horror Hangout podcast, but it is my personal position. If someone has shown themselves to be that evil, shoot them in the back. You're not the police. You're not held to any code of. If someone has shown
Yeah,
themselves
that's
to be
true.
that, shooting them in the back.
I mean, the police would definitely shoot him in the back.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah,
They'd shoot you in the back and they go, "Well, he's looking at me actually," and he's reaching for
right. He was
something.
running right at me.
He's running right at
Yeah.
me. I had to kill him in the back.
yeah.
He's running right at me back first. That's what he's
Right.
doing.
It's moonwalking right at me. So that's why I was
That would
because
be
it looked
scary.
like his legs looked like they're moving forward, but he was coming back.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a real malignant situation, wasn't it, Andy?
yeah, real
Oh, you
backwards
gotta watch
boy.
out for that.
You throw a
You gotta
chair at me,
watch
give
out
it a
for that.
second. He's
An old
reaching for a
backwards,
chair. Um,
an old backwards boy.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, you would have shot him in the back, but she doesn't. She holds him at gunpoint. Um, quick question for the group. You know how to use a rifle?
there's only one in the chamber, he says. I
I
mean,
do know how to use a rifle, but
there we
I'm
go.
an American, so they basically teach you that in school.
Mm.
Sorry.
Straight after ABC's rifle.
Straight
Right.
after your ABCs. So yeah, so there can't be much difference between American and Australian rifles. Then it's all the same, isn't it?
Yeah, fairly
I
universal.
guess I don't know. That's a good question.
I would simply say, as obviously these characters are supposed to be British, I can guarantee you that British people don't know how to use a rifle.
I think
Ah,
I have a rough understanding that the
Yeah.
shooty end is one end, and
I've
there will be
done
some sort of bolt and a slide because I've played
bolt on a
play
slide.
video games. I know how these
You
things
play Call of
roughly
Duty.
work,
I've
but
done some clay pigeon shooting. That counts.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've done some. But that's a
okay.
shotgun.
That'll get you far. Yeah.
Yeah. That
But a
is a
shotgun is
yeah.
one thing. You cock those and they shoot. But a rifle, as he's
Yeah.
described, Mick roar out at 3 bolts on that rifle. A bolt
Yeah.
action rifle is,
Yeah, that's true.
I reckon, one of the most complicated kinds.
Now, I haven't shot one in a really long time. I think the last time I shot one was at Girl Scout camp. But
Oh my
I
God.
so I don't know under duress if I could figure it out again. But if I had like time to figure it out, I could.
Yeah.
Did you say, "Oh my God," about me shooting a gun at Girl Scout camp?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
just thought awesome. That was the only reason. I just
Okay.
thought, why is this not a chapter of Millennial Nasties? I just start a chapter with when I was at Girl Scout camp and shooting a rifle, I thought
That's a
Yeah.
super normal experience.
I want you on my
here, so-
team if we're going to go to a holiday gone wrong. Because I
yeah.
feel we'd make
Aw,
a good team.
thanks.
You can use a rifle. I
Okay.
can remind us not to touch the plants.
Yeah.
There you go. Someone's got to.
I will
Ben, what are
pre-
you bringing?
I'm bringing
He's having
at
first
least
go at the driving.
at least pretending that I know what's going wrong with the car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
Somebody
yeah.
needs to.
Oh,
I
spark
think
plugs
we're
there,
gonna
right?
make it.
Yeah.
I'll
We're
bring
gonna
the-
survive.
I'll bring the positive can-do attitude because I feel like I've always got that in all situations. So that's what you have from me. It's not much, but it's honest work.
Yeah, so Liz has obviously been to Girl Scout camp because she knows how to use the rifle.
Yes, she has.
Mick, I guess he's bluffing because he goes,
Right.
there's only one bullet in there, so
Mhm.
don't even matter, mate. And then he goes to run at her, and she shoots him in the neck, which does
Pops
make
him.
him poorly for a little bit. Does get
I
a
thought
little
that.
bit
I remember
poorly.
when
You
I
have to have a
first
lie
saw this
down.
film. When I first saw this film, I think I thought that was it. I thought, oh, well, he's
Me
dead.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't get shot in the neck and walk away, but
Mm.
Mick does.
The other thing that you would remind people at this point is, if you're not going to shoot someone in the back, if Screamers taught us nothing, if you've got the killer down for you, finish him off. I would have
Well, she
put
tries,
every
doesn't
heavy.
she?
I
She
would have put
tries.
every heavy thing in that thing on him. I'd
Yeah,
have crushed him like he was a
She
witch.
tries to shoot him again, but she can't do it. Whether there's not,
Maybe
she
there
can't-
only was one bullet then.
Yeah, but then she hits him in the
She,
back.
yeah, on the back. That was an interesting choice. I was like, is this a chair shot in WWE? Like, why are we hitting him across the back? Like, smash his head.
Yeah.
Bloody
Stomp
hell!
his head to custard, mate. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to, wouldn't you? Yeah, but
Yeah.
then again, things we have to take into account, like I don't know, she's been tied up in a room all night.
Absolutely.
She's
Go
probably
and
like
get some of that fire from outside.
physically drained, emotionally drained. Like, but that's the thing. Both of
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. I don't,
you wanna
like
get
I
away.
said, I'd be dead long ago. So, like, I'm not criticizing her.
Well, I don't know if you would. I feel like I believed you when you first said it, but now you've said about Girl Scout camp.
Yeah, and
Now
you
I'm
shot him in the
thinking-
back. You'd have been fine.
Yeah, shot him in the back.
So yeah,
Yeah.
they go to escape and they have to do a classic horror movie. They go out to go to the van.
No keys.
Yeah, no keys. Got to go back and get him out of his pocket, and they do because he's still down and out at the minute.
I have to admit that any time I see this in a horror film, and it's been done dozens of times, which is the killer's knocked out and you're going back to get the keys, is always tense. It's always tense.
Oh yeah.
Even when there isn't like a jump or a big scare at the end, it's always you always hold your breath along with it. Where you're like,
Mhm.
Yeah, you'd have given him another kick in the head, wouldn't you? After you've got the keys, though,
yeah.
You have to.
I think you
put him in
probably
a
would.
figure 4 leg lock. Do something so we can't
This is
tie his
turning
shoes. Throw his shoes in the fire.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it looks like there's bound to be loads of glass and stuff around, isn't there?
Yeah,
It would really inconvenience him.
take all of his clothes.
One step. Yeah, take all of his clothes. Yeah, a big
Yeah.
horrible naked Mick Taylor.
He's not
coming
going to be able
towards
to
you.
make a tourniquet if he's got no clothes left, is he?
Yeah, that's true. Makes a little tourniquet for his neck. Bless him.
Yeah, so they drive off, but Mick is soon on their trail. They see him coming after them in another car. So I think a pretty smart choice, right? They leave the
Mhm.
headlights of the car on. Might have been what got them in this problem in the first place, leaving the bloody headlights on. And then they shove the car over a precipice.
Did we do the bit
Mhm.
where he comes out when they're trying to start it? He comes out the garage, and that's when he starts shooting them with the shotgun. Isn't it?
Oh yes, that's how they know he's
That's
after him,
right.
right? Because he
Yeah, he's got a
shotguns the
shotgun this
window out.
time. But yeah, they push his.
They try to hit him with the car, and they
Yeah.
escape that way. They knock his garage over.
Mm.
And then they push the car over the cliff, and then they, much like a film that came out just a couple of years earlier, they Fellowship of the Rings him. They hide under the little, over the edge of the precipice, and he like ring wraiths over the edge,
He ring wraiths over the edge.
and then we're going like, they seem to be gripping on, but Liz manages to 90% of Liz's dialogue for the rest of this film is shushing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christy. It's out of because Christy's obviously been through the ringer more than she has. Like Liz has been just
Yeah.
kept somewhere. and
Christy
she's
is lucky that her friend is Liz and not Shimon Hunsu from A Quiet Place Day Zero. But he
Yeah.
shushed her to death. Like that
Oh
man.
yeah! Oh my god! He shushes her to death. But yeah, and then does this probably isn't the best decision where Liz says she's just going to leave her there and if I don't come back in 5 minutes.
Oh
just
yeah,
run
this
Yeah.
is
away.
so he goes off to try and I think he goes down to go over, walk his way down to the bottom to see if they're in the van, right? And as soon as his vision cone is no longer on them, even though he's probably only 20 meters away, they start
Surely he
talking
could
at
hear
normal
them.
temperature.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So they go, oh, we have to go back to hit like he had more keys on him. He must have more cars. Let's go and get another one. And I think at that point, also, whatever happened to Ben? No time for that. Let's
Okay.
no time for that. Let's just go.
I agree with that though. I feel like I agree with that.
Is
I
this where we
feel
get a little clip of Ben not doing anything yet, but just knocked out for a minute? We just
I
see
think
him.
he's like spitting blood. He's kind of like
Yeah.
drifting in and out of consciousness.
Oh, he's got a
Mhm.
little call back to earlier when he told the alien story. He says, "Oh, you got a little something just dribbling out your mouth there." What's that bullshit, mate?
Yeah.
He's got actual dribble coming out of his mouth now. Um, but yeah, they go back to Mick's camp. Liz says, "Wait here a minute. I'll go and get another car."
Mhm.
And she does go in there, but before she finds another car, what she finds is an orgy of evidence of other murder. So, to be fair, if she hadn't watched so many films, she might have got away with this, but she watches.
I can't imagine a time where you would feel like you had a moment to
You'd be like,
stop and watch one of these
camcorders,
videos.
not looking at these.
You
This
just go,
this
there's
isn't a car.
Yeah.
you go, oh, there's a camcorder there. I wonder who they belong to. You would not stop and watch. Also,
And she
the
watches
one,
one of them, which shows us a background of another family getting kidnapped at exactly the same time, which is where we imply that he's at least murdered one child.
Mhm.
yeah, in
Um,
also almost exactly the same way as well, wasn't it? Like the way it panned out, the way it. I guess it's
yeah,
supposed to solidify the idea that he does this a lot and he always does it the same. I guess.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and I remember and obviously looks. I don't know why she looks at the video of them as well because I feel like you would just not. But she does look at the
because that
video of
video
them.
that Ben filmed earlier on, it doesn't strike me as a Star Trek guy in anything else that he does.
No, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. What does he say?
Oh.
Wait,
But yeah,
what's
the
it?
second he's got a camera on him, he does like a
Captain's
Captain
log.
Kirk voice,
Captain's
and
log.
yeah,
I do
Yeah.
like the
no sign of intelligent, apart from the nice garage man that he meets.
nice garage man. It was a bit awkward with the old garage man, isn't it? But I
Gavin or
kind of like
Gareth
it.
or um yeah, so they find these videos and then she gets in a car. Um at some point Mick must have come in,
Mhm.
left her to watch the videos and guessed which car she was going to take and got into it. Took a big chance, took a big gamble.
Took a big gamble,
Like
didn't it?
Jigsaw, Mick is a student of human nature.
Yeah.
He's very good
Okay.
at reading what his victims will do.
Got it.
Is that
He
right?
knows what I'm gonna do.
So it's like, okay, a woman, early 20s, which of these cars is she gonna
Hmm.
go for? This one has a straight shot out to
Hmm.
the exit, so I'm just gonna hop in there.
Mm.
Um, Probably one of the most brutal and unpleasant scenes of the film we're making like before we get to this,
Yeah.
because this one we're gonna have to
Yeah.
rattle over. Um,
What does
yeah,
he say
so
when he appears in the back seat? Yeah, that's it. Just a horrible laugh. That is it. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Even though I knew it was coming this time, I was still like, oh
Mhm.
no.
yeah, he
You know
gives
when
her
you
a big
start like
he gives her a big
bargaining?
stab. Yeah,
Yeah, start bargaining with yourself, where you're like, well, does this happen now? Maybe not. She gets away.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Ben's
Surely
know.
hoping
this
for the
time it'll
Ben's
be
hoping for the
different.
nice cut.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Ben's girlfriend. Make up an excuse. No, right. No, it is Mick, and he does a big stab, and then she's like already terribly injured already, and then he basically implies, well, he doesn't imply, he describes very quickly, and I think it's such a horrible term, talking about wanting a head on a stick, and then
Oh
he
yeah.
using his big knife, and he chops the fingers off, he slashes them
He
as
talks
well.
about Vietnamese POWs, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He
and says that
says
what they
Mhm.
did was during these wars is because they
they
wanted someone they could interrogate, but didn't want them running away, and he severs her spine with his hunting knife,
head on a
meaning that
stick.
she is
Yeah.
paralyzed, but he can still interrogate her as to what is going on. And for better or worse, probably for better, we don't see Liz again in this film.
Yeah.
We can only
Yeah.
assume that. I mean, you can only assume and hope that you don't live for that long
Mm, yeah.
once,
But yeah, because
without medical attention.
Mhm.
he obviously hacked her fingers off as well.
He
He
stabbed her in the back as well, so she's probably losing blood
She's
from.
probably
probably,
bleeds out
yeah.
while he's gone after
Hmm.
Christie. We like to think that she bleeds out. I said
Yeah,
that sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. Um, and he basically asks her where Christie's whereabouts are. Does she reveal it, or do we just not see that on the screen?
we
'Cause
don't see on screen, but
yeah,
obviously we see the aftermath of what happens now. What you would hope is
Hmm.
that maybe you'd lie. So she died. She went off the edge of that cliff. But Christie
Yeah.
waits the 5 minutes, and then runs for the road. She obviously runs for an extended period of time, and then the sun comes up. She finds herself running along the road, and by luck, a car happens to
Yeah, I
pull
guess
up.
the similarities when you mentioned Ariel to things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that usually like this sun bleached, sun drenched thing. It often has it often feels like safety, doesn't it? Like we feel like okay, the sun's
Yes.
come up now. Surely we're safe, regardless of the fact that
Yes.
we're still in the wilderness. Daytime means safety, and especially when a
Hmm.
car pulls up, you think, okay, well, we're one step away from complete safety. Um, and the fact that like the the onslaught continues into this is also um and it's something that you mentioned in your book as well, isn't it? Talking about sort of films like I think you do mention something about daylight bringing safety, don't you? In a few,
Daylight brings safety.
I think you do,
Hmm.
if I remember
Hmm.
correctly. I think that may
I
be
mean,
why.
you say this a real life horror story. The first time my wife Karen, years ago now, ever watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. Um, a friend came around and watched it. They watched the scary movies together. She doesn't really watch scary movies even to this day. And then when her parents were away for the weekend, and her friend stayed and watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre with her, and they went, "Well, I'm going home. See you later."
Oh
And she was like,
no.
"Oh, you absolute bitch! How could you?" So, being terrified, she slept in her mom and dad's room because they had a lock on the door.
Hmm.
And then, was terrified, slept the night, and then in the morning she was getting up and starting the day, and she began thinking, why is the day synonymous with safety? If there was a lunatic, why would they go home and leave the house just before the
Yeah.
sun, just because the sun came up? At which point she opened the door to her parents' bedroom. It was a downstairs conversion, and there was a man standing in her kitchen.
No.
She screamed very loudly and almost gave her granddad a heart attack. But
It was a
Oh my
granddad,
God. That almost gave me a heart attack.
not a man in
yeah,
the kitchen.
it was, yeah, her parents were away on holiday and her granddad was coming around to see if she was
God,
okay.
Mm-mm. No.
no,
No.
But
no, thank you.
everything was fine. But yeah, everything is not
Goodness.
fine in the world of Wolf Creek because that
Well,
poor man who
talking
just
about potential
stops.
granddads, this is someone's granddad. This
Hmm.
fella. Yeah,
Yeah.
he gets out of the car. He obviously is trying to help her. He gets her a blanket, puts his
Gets a
thermos up on
flask.
the roof, and it's the we do hear the bullet, don't we?
Yeah,
And you
you
kind of
you hear it because
feel
I'm
like,
guessing this shows that Mick is obviously a very good sharpshooter at an incredible
Hmm.
distance because you hear the crack of the rifle long before the bullet, not
oh,
long, but
he's bloody miles
seconds
away,
before the bullet arrives.
miles away.
Hmm.
He must. I wonder I wonder where he's aiming that reticle. Where he's like must be up to the left of something to
Yeah.
accustomed for wind.
Yeah, he's obviously and drop of the bullet and all these other things. So an incredible shooter. I mean, we the fact that he misses once is basically only to build tension because the old
Yeah.
man has time to look up and see that a hole has been punched in his thermos there.
Hmm.
And then we hear another crack, and then what
He's
we see
done.
moments later, he's been shot through the eye.
Hmm.
So this has been, an incredibly rare and difficult shot to do. Christie kind of pulls herself together, runs out of the car, manages to. Again, there's a key issue.
Hmm.
At which point, Mick is almost at this point because it takes her a few minutes to get out of the car and get everything. Like he's almost managed to drive there by now in like a muscle car, right? That he's
Oh
Hmm.
after
yeah,
her in.
and he is driving extremely fast. It's terrifying. It like just how fast he's coming to the point where you're just like, I'm not gonna be able to get away, even in another car. And when she's driving
Yeah.
the other car, she is like, hurry up! Can't put my
Yeah,
foot down.
very Jeepers Creepers energy, right? Like a big,
Yeah.
powerful
Hmm.
car chasing them down with the silhouette, particularly with the hat that he wears,
Yeah.
like chasing down. And he is able to literally pull up outside, and it's a horrible. To be honest, the way he is quite jovial with everything now makes it uh, even more unpleasant because he like comes up and he's like waving alongside.
Yeah, he does a little wave at her. Yeah, that's pretty
Hmm.
horrific.
But she rams his car and rams him off the road, and again you get that taste of like, well, you've done it, you've rammed her off the road, but then sort of very calmly gets out his rifle. Something that we'd see recreated in Strange Darling this year, right, Ben? Like the the car
Oh
gets run
yeah.
off the road, and he
Yeah,
very
exactly.
calmly gets that rifle out and points it and shoots out her tire, causing her to crash.
Mm.
Um, I mean, in many ways, like what we have now is probably a blessing versus what she was potentially in for in the beginning. Like, obviously, he's in a mess, and he when he catches her now, he does just shoot her, like, and a couple of times
Yeah.
to make sure she is dead.
Yeah.
He's done with her. He
Yeah.
wants the hunt to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And I
like
guess to a
the
degree,
thrill
because
of
of
the
this
hunt. Yeah.
escape, he now has to deal with the fact that he's killed this other man out on the highway. So he
Right.
has to. Does he burn the body or does he take the body?
I
I
think
don't.
I think he just takes the body. I think he just bundles the bodies into the back of his car, doesn't he? And
Yeah,
then
that's it.
just drives back. Yeah. Um, because then no, he torches the car. No, he puts the bodies into the back of his car and then torches the car.
Okay.
Not of his car, sorry, the car that was being driven. Um, and then we do go back to Ben. If anyone forgot about Ben, here he is. He awakes nailed to a crucifix, like in a in the mine shaft. He's on his
Some
own now, so
dogs barking at him.
yeah. Oh yeah, some dogs barking at him.
Because of the
Okay.
dogs coming up earlier, I had a horrible fear for a moment, because of the story that Mick told about. It was almost like his hunting stories because he talked about the kangaroos and you shoot them from a distance with your rifle, and then he
Mhm.
said another story about for some of for the pigs, the boars that were dangerous, you had to get a little closer. I almost
Mhm.
was worried that so said he had to set the dogs on them to distract them, and then I thought we were going to have a terrible, horrible scene here where the dogs were going to chase him, and then Mick would use that as a distraction to get him. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
thankfully, they haven't got as an unpleasant imagination as I do, and Ben just gets out.
If Andy had written this, it'd be far more unpleasant. It's pretty
Oh,
unpleasant
well,
already,
no, Ben,
mate.
I'm working on the nice cut. Don't tar me
Oh
with
yeah,
this
you're
one.
working on the nice cat. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the extra nasty cut that could
yeah.
also exist. Um,
He, I mean, yeah. So he escapes. He escapes into the outback, but then and again, this is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because I guess when we see another character, we kind of think, oh right, we're gonna be with him for a while. We're gonna think he
Right.
think he's okay, and then Mick will turn up. But that never really happens. He
Passes
passes
out with
out.
dehydration, and then
Yeah,
some tourists on another
Mhm.
similar group of tourists doing the drive find him and rescue him.
find him, rescue him. He gets airlifted to hospital, and then
The police
essentially just
arrest him for 4 months just to add insult to injury.
yeah, and I go, oh, it
Mhm.
was you. Oh yeah, the thing is, we went out into the outback, and then some crazy guy just took us. No, no chance,
A
mate.
likely story,
A
arrested.
likely story. Um, and there's a series of like title cards that say that there were police chases. No trace of Liz or Christie had ever been found. Um,
And after 4 months, he was cleared of all
4
suspicion.
months he was cleared, and then the very last shot is a lovely, heartwarming, uplifting shot of Mick walking into the sunset.
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
happy ending for him, it would seem, or would it? I don't know. He can't be happy, can he? Not really.
It's 3 cars down.
3 cars down.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Y-
And that's it. That's the end. Um, and then I'm assuming the sequel just takes place after this one. It's not like a prequel or anything like that. I can't really remember.
Right. Yeah, it's a sequel. The
Hmm.
stories they don't really tie together other than Mick. So
Yeah. Okay.
Just like
I
it's like
understand.
just like standalone terrible crimes of Mick.
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how the series goes. Is that going to be a longer form thing, or is it going to be like, Mick of the week, whatever he's up to?
Mick of the week. Someone gets a Mick of the week. Okay, so there we go. That was Wolf Creek. I guess we should probably play some name game if you've got any of
Well,
that.
Ben, because of the terrible violence, I thought maybe I won't do puns, but what I do have,
Okay.
as we're heading towards quiz season, Ben, we
I
talked
love it.
about it last week. We're getting ready for our quiz of the year. I thought as a little warm up, a little bit of practice, get you in training, Rocky Balboa style. I've got some Australian horror movie quiz questions for you.
This is fantastic.
You ready for a little warm up?
I'm so happy about this.
Right. Fingers on buzzers, or just shout your answer. Um,
Okay.
Question number 1 for today. Famous Australian soap Neighbours, once upon a time, you can watch this on YouTube to this day, did a horror special, Neighbours versus Zombies, which begins
Did
when
they?
one character who tragically died in an accident comes back to life mysteriously, played by Ben Nichols. But which member of the Rebecca family does Ben Nichols play?
Which member of the Rebecca? I mean, I couldn't tell you any
I know
members of.
all of the words you said,
Yeah.
but I
Oh.
don't know what they mean.
For Australian listeners
The
shouting at
only
their
thing,
iPods right now, it is,
there's
of
someone.
course,
Wait. There's someone called Harold Bishop in Neighbours, right?
it's not Harold Bishop. It is Toadfish's cousin. You know Toady, obviously.
Oh
It's
yeah,
his cousin,
Toadfish.
Stingray.
Hmm.
There was a period in
Wait,
the early 2000s where Stingray and I had a very similar look. I'm just taller than him.
a very similar look.
Yeah.
Who had it first, though?
It's hard to say because they're further ahead in us time zone wise. So technically, if we put it on
You
the
woke
same
up
day
one
as
day.
they started before mine, yeah,
This
Stingray came back to
12
life.
hours.
Check out Neighbours
Wait,
versus Zombies. It's
Harold
very good.
Bishop is Harold Bishop Neighbours or Home and Away?
Harold Bishop is Neighbours.
Okay, there we go. I
Okay,
hope you got more.
I have got more, but there are no more Neighbours related ones. You'll be glad to know. Although many of the actors are from those. So tell me which of this is probably right in your wheelhouses. Former Australian soap actor Melissa George appears in a Holiday Gone Wrong film in which a number of her friends are stuck shipwrecked and end up in a time loop nightmare. But what horror film is that?
That would be. I thought you were going to say the one where they go on a hike and something, but I'm pretty sure Melissa George is in Triangle.
You are
Isn't
correct.
it
She is in
Triangle?
Triangle. Yeah,
Okay.
Triangle it is.
Yeah, I love
Melissa George.
Triangle.
Yeah, Triangle's great.
Hmm.
So Melissa George in Triangle. What about though other Australian soap actress, Shani Vinson? Now, in a film in which she co-stars with horror legend Barbara Crampton, does a wedding anniversary getaway turn into a nightmare when armed hoodlums start picking off the guests?
I
I
mean, I'm
don't
not.
know this one.
I'm not getting this because of the Australian actors. I'm not sure, but because you said Barbara Crampton and then the Armed Hoodlums, it's Your Next, right?
It is your next. Add that to the watch list,
Oh,
Ariel. It's
yes,
very
yes,
good.
yes. Okay,
So
yes.
who is the Australian, the like main character, one of the main characters?
Shani Vinson is in she's also in Live Bait, the one where there is like a flood in in
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
supermarket and the sharks come in. She's
Oh,
in that as well.
don't know if I've seen that one.
I think it's called Live Bait or Live Bait 3D or something
Mm.
along those lines. It's good. How about this? Australia's own and home and away's Vinny, Ryan Quanton, appears in this horror movie in which Donnie Wahlberg suspects him of being a murderer after his wife is mysteriously killed by Mary Scholl's dolly. It is.
I'm pointing at the poster behind me for Dead Silence.
Dead Silence, Ryan Quanton.
She had no, what was it?
Beware, 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 Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls. You have to affect that
And if
rhyme
you
a little
see
bit.
her in your dreams, make sure you never ever scream.
You mustn't, because towards the end of that film, if you even raise your voice slightly when you're falling off something, you'll be slept off at the end there.
She's coming to
We,
get you.
we have
So-
done an episode on that, Ariel, but it
Mhm.
was how long ago was that?
Probably
It
not as
wasn't.
long
It
as
was
you
fairly
think, but
recent. It was
about a
fairly
year
recent. I feel
maybe.
like. I reckon about a year ago. Yeah.
In silence.
Okay.
Okay, how about this one? If I could read my own. Ah, yes, I can. So this famous Australian actor has become a bit of an icon in the world of horror in recent years, having been a put-upon bride, a satanic babysitter, and a
Samara
victim of
Weaving.
Ghostface. Samara Weaving, very good. Straight on that one.
Sorry, was I supposed to let you
No,
finish reading the
no,
question?
you
I'm
dive
sorry.
in. You
Jump
dive
in.
in. This is
Don't
this
let
is a
him finish.
competitive angle. You go for it when you know
Okay.
it. So, in indie horror, darling, talk to me. What phrase do the users say when they wish to be able to be possessed by the spirit they're talking with?
I'll let you in.
There you go. I let you in. Very good.
I was thinking, is it just talk to me for some
Talk to me is
reason?
the first bit.
Talk to me.
Talk to me.
Talk.
Now this one. What is the name of the, I would say, the cult classic Australian horror mockumentary film which uncovers the disappearance of a family's teenage daughter?
Oh, Lake
Lake
Mungo.
Mungo.
Lake Mungo.
Yeah.
Very good. Another brilliant one. You've done Lake Mungo, haven't you, as well, Ben?
Yeah, and again, a little while ago, probably
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 years ago, but yeah,
It was
we've
you and
done.
Luke, I think. I
It
hadn't seen it
was.
until more recently.
Hmm.
And then one more featuring um star of this very this very film as well. He also appears in Mick himself, or Mr. Jarratt, appears in another Australian horror film, which also features Australian actress Radha Mitchell, in which a rogue alligator or crocodile is chomping up people in the outback. What is the name of that film?
A rogue Rada Mitchell, as in
Yeah,
from Silent Hill.
yep, and Pitch Black.
Is it called Croc?
It's not. I
It's
think
not
Ben
like
actually
it's not.
accidentally got it just then.
What did I say? I
It's
said
called
rogue.
Rogue.
Oh, it's called Rogue. What did I
Ah,
Yeah.
say?
You just
you
went,
Oh yeah,
said
you went, a
Rogue.
rogue, and then you just stopped.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah,
was
Rogue.
gonna say. To be fair, I was gonna say Lake Placid, but I was like, I'm convinced it's
Yeah, it's
it's
Rogue.
it's
It's very
American
good.
Lake Placid.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Rogue. Yeah,
there's
Rogue.
my
Rogue's a good film, isn't it? Yeah.
there's my Australian horror little quiz for you today. Hope you
very
enjoyed that.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice.
If
Mainly
add
focused
those
on.
to your watch list, especially
Mhm.
Neighbours versus Zombies.
That's number one.
Yeah, and
That's
you
number
need to
one. That's
check
what I'm
out
gonna do.
actor Ben Nicholas because my friend met him in Australia when he was visiting Ramsay Street, and for a second he thought it was me. I will say that Ben Nicholas, I would say, has maybe aged slightly more gracefully than I have. He obviously is. He's doing all right for himself.
God, he must be stunning, Andy. If that's the
Honestly,
case.
Ben, he
If
is.
he's
He's
aged
a.
more gracefully than you,
Have a quick Google of Ben Nicholas, sorry, Stingray. He's a handsome man.
right? Is that one of those things where? Oh yeah. To be fair, well, yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. He's got the grey chops going on, looking
Yeah.
good.
All right,
Um,
all right. I'm gonna Google him.
Look at him in his Stingray days, Ben, and imagine me wearing a skating t-shirt.
is this one of
Stingray
the?
neighbours.
Don't even look like the same person. Oh, well, no, wait. No, okay. I think I was looking at the wrong person. Ben Nicholas.
Yeah,
I
Ben
was looking at the wrong
Nicholas.
person. I see it now. Now I see it.
Oh yeah.
Now I
Yes, I
see it.
see.
I was just looking at someone who didn't look anything like you, Andy, but also agreeing.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, here we go. Oh my God, look at this. So he's got like the baggy jeans on, the like khaki colored t-shirt, the beads, and the way he's posing on a skateboard makes me
Yes.
suggest he's never been on a skateboard in his life.
No, never, not once.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does some of
There
the
you go.
same facial expressions as you, Andy. He does
Yeah,
that
I
weird. He
know.
does this one that you do all the time. Like
Yeah.
he does that one. That's a classic Andy. My God.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not
know, Andy.
wrong.
I'll say you're on a par with him in the looks department. I'll let you have that one.
He's a professional actor, and I think I can let him have this one.
Yeah, but don't.
But not a
Don't
bad silver medal,
take
eh? I'd
everything you
take
can
that.
get. Take everything you can get.
That's it then, though, Ben. Apart from entering our scores for the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to rate the film. A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Ariel, would you like to go first?
I'm gonna give it an A. I think it is solid, scary, efficient horror movie that I've watched again and again and again.
There we go. Nothing more to add.
Brilliant stuff.
Andy, what are you saying?
I am gonna go for I'm gonna go for a B. I really like this film. I think it's incredibly effective because of its content. I do struggle. I would struggle to watch it for pleasure, I would say, because it's a difficult watch, right? I think
Mhm.
and I think it makes you conflicted in that I think Mick can have some very compelling lines and he can be an interesting and a scary character, but you can't really root for him because he's a horrible rapist, and it's not, that's difficult to watch on occasion. I do
Mhm.
want to carry on and watch the rest of the series, and I am interested to see what they do with the character next because I think he is a very formidable killer, and I think you could do some really interesting things with the character as well. The only thing I can criticize it for filmmaking wise is early digital filming looks weird now on modern HD
Mm.
TVs. The color saturation looks very odd.
You know what?
But
I feel
yeah.
like I kind of like it. I feel like it has a certain something about it that adds to that sort of gritty, grotty nature of it. Like
I feel like
if it
it's a
was,
bit like early 3D graphics. Like, you know how like film grain and things like that is timeless, a bit like 8 and 16-bit graphics. You can look back on and go, oh, they're just artifacts of their time. I think
Mhm.
early digital is something it sometimes strikes me as a little bit uncanny. It's probably just me.
mm, yeah,
But
I
yeah,
understand.
still really worth checking out and like a really effective movie. I think it's one you have to be careful who you recommend it to.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but it's so well made, and I think the use of the environment is phenomenal.
Mhm.
How about
Yeah,
you,
I
Ben?
think I'll fall somewhere in the middle. I think I'm gonna go for a B plus. Um, it's the first time I've seen it in quite a few years, but it still felt like it was just as effective as it was the first time. And I guess it's like that with a lot of the quote unquote millennial nasties. Is that no, you wouldn't want to like rewatch loads of them very much because they are nasty by their very nature. And of yeah, Mick's a very compelling character, a fascinating character in a way because if anyone else, if there's another character committing acts like this in a movie, you find it very easy to hate them. I'm not saying I
Mhm.
like him, but it's an interest. It makes you feel a certain way. Like you still, as I said, you still chuckle along when he's sort of being a little bit incompetent and doing various things. And then when he commits these horrible acts, you do kind of go, "Oh yeah, he is a horrible bloke." Which is why I'm
Mhm.
interested in seeing this TV show because if we do get a bit of Mick backstory, I don't want to know it all, but I just want to know a little bit more why he
Mhm.
does what he does. It's fascinating in a way. So B plus for me is what
Cool.
I will go for, I believe.
Before we do all the usual sign off, end of the episode, what's coming next week kind of stuff, please tell us where we can buy Millennial Nasties. Are there any avenues where it's best to buy it, where you get most money from it, and other companies do not?
That's very kind. If you're able to buy it from the Encyclopocalypse website, that is the best thing you can do, encyclopocalypse.com. However, I know that not every country can get it straight from the website. So if it's not letting you add a book to your cart, if you scroll down on the page, it links you to the international retailers. I think a lot of people have just been doing Amazon for that, but there are other bookstores as well. So their website if you can, but if not, wherever they'll ship to you because it should ship everywhere in the world.
Wonderful. I don't know. Ben's ahead of the game. He's already not only bought but finished his copy. I need to play catch up, so
Mm.
I will be doing that just before I go to bed.
Well, that's very nice.
Well,
Thank you
one of
so
those things. I
much.
can't
Get
commit to
on it.
reading it before I go to bed. It's
That's fair enough.
Where else can our listeners keep up with you online, Ariel?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Ari_Hellraiser. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd most frequently. So look for me there, and I'll post all my writing and podcasting.
Amazing.
amazing. I'm gonna add
Good
you
stuff.
right
Good
now.
stuff. So thanks for joining us, Ariel, and thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to Rusty Quill, who are now a part of their nation of shows. Or what we looking at, Ariel?
My Magnus Archives poster, because I love.
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
just,
Yeah,
sorry to
we're
interrupt your sign off. Just
no,
It's
we're
Rusty
okay.
Quill.
It's
related to
okay.
them now. We're on the
We are
same
now
network.
Yeah.
officially related.
The Magnus Archives changed my life. I'm not even exaggerating. That is such an important piece of media to me.
Oh, amazing.
This is a Grifter's Bone poster. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Anyway,
we are.
sorry. Rusty Quill.
Hey, Rusty Quill, hell yeah, woo! Yeah, again, we've still not had a proper chance to sort of just talk about what this means for the show. I guess we would just say that it's going to help us reach new audiences and more people as well. But we're on the Rusty Quill Network as part of Hawk and Cleaver's collection of podcasts, including the other stories and now Horror Hangout. So
What it
very
fundamentally
excited.
means to you, the listener, is nothing.
It means
Um,
nothing. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It-
Hopefully, there are just more of you because we're on a wonderful network that
yeah.
has a really great audience and a really well subscribed newsletter and a very nice looking website.
Mhm.
Yeah, so more
We're
people will be able to
excited.
find us. We're not about to start, you know, no producers say, Andy, you can't say fuck or bugger on these things. Can still do that. That's fine.
And we're not going to get too big for our boots. Well, I might, Andy, you know me.
Oh, we'll bring each
So-
other. We'll bring each other down. I'm still after that TED talk withering that you mentioned the other day. I've got that in the tank. If you ever get
oh
too
yeah.
big for your boots.
We're very excited to be part of the Rusty Quill Network, and we're obviously very grateful for this as well. So great, but we couldn't have done it without all of our listeners giving us the support we've had over the years. So thank you all so much for that. The last part of the sign off. We are on horrorhangout.co.uk. You can find all of our links there to the latest show, and all of our social media as well. So
Yeah,
keep in
we've
touch.
had
Keep in touch
interviews
over there.
recently. We had the interview with the director of Street Trash, Ryan Kruger, this week. Just a couple of days ago on your feeds. Got another couple of interviews in the bank, ready to get recorded in the
Yep.
next few weeks as well. So exciting times ahead, everybody.
Indeed. And next week it will be December. You know what that means for Horror Hangout. We'll be covering some festive movies, although we haven't 100% decided which yet, but we will announce them in the next few days. And we will be signing off the year with a big Horror Hangout quiz, as we usually do. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Merry Christmas, everybody, is what we'll be saying soon. Not yet, not too early. Don't take that as actual sentiment yet. That is just a reminder. I'll be saying to you pretty soon.
Exactly. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was a blast.
You're most welcome. Join us again on the show sometime soon. We'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
Hell yes.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Okay.
Oh, if you see any baddies, by the way, that have proven themselves to be wrong'uns, shoot them in
Shoot
the
them in
back.
the
Why
back.
don't you? Exactly.
Shoot
Good
'em
night,
in the
everybody.
back, will you? Right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.